Chapter 660-313, Absurd Answer /2. What the fuck? He suddenly burst out with a curse, a look of questioning life on his face. This couldn't be possible, right? That noble son is just a true immortal. How could he cause such a commotion? The others also understood Nuke's meaning, staring at each other with wide eyes and baffled expressions. Indeed, how could he cause such a commotion? Nuke too was confounded. But he understood that by eliminating all impossibilities, the remaining option, however absurd, must be the correct answer. Although Nuke couldn't understand how that noble son could create such terrifying tau fluctuations, it was the only possibility that could make the Yu family ancestor pay such close attention to him. Such attention, perhaps not even his own son would receive, right? Nuke felt an immense envy in his heart, but dared not harbor the slightest enmity. After all, such an existence was beyond his comprehension. Nuke's gaze flickered for a moment before looking down at the planet below and said, "Let's go down too." Upon hearing this, both Yuan Wu and the other followers widened their eyes, completely dumbfounded. What the fuck? The military leader of the Star Realm army is down there, and instead of leaving, we're going down. Young master, we should still leave. This time both that noble son and the military leader of the Star Realm army let us go. We've already been extremely lucky. If we go down and anger them, I'm afraid we won't be able to get away, Yuan Wu urgently said. The others nodded repeatedly. Nuke sneered and swept his gaze over the group. What are you afraid of? We're not going there to cause trouble. Since that noble son was willing to let us go just now, it shows he is reasonable and not cruel or bloodthirsty, and the military leader certainly won't bother with us. We're just going to move around on this immortal star and gather some information. At these words, Yuan Wu and the others paused. Then realization dawned on Yuan Wu. You mean, find out about that noble son from somewhere else? Exactly, we're just passing travelers, taking a brief rest on the immortal star. As long as we keep to ourselves, we should be fine. Look at the immortals who came out before. They weren't only from the human clan, there were even members of the three-eyed clan. What's there to fear? Nuke said with a light chuckle. Yuan Wu and the others exchanged glances, then Yuan Wu flattered. Young master is truly clever. Although they couldn't directly gather information or communicate with that noble son, that didn't stop them from interacting with other people. If that noble son stayed on this immortal star for a while, they should be able to obtain some useful information. Perhaps we might even be able to befriend that noble son. Nuke's eyes shimmered with a hint of anticipation. In that case, young master, let's go down. Nuke and his party also flew toward the planet below. They didn't fly towards the direction from which Lu Yi and the others had left, but chose another to avoid being thought of as trackers, which would leave them unable to defend themselves. As immortals, they could immediately tell the concentration levels of spiritual energy on this immortal star. The densest area of spiritual energy, naturally, was in the direction Lu Yi and the others had left from, and from there, the concentration gradually decreased. They arrived at an area where the spiritual energy was not particularly rich, but still decent enough, and quickly found an ancient and vast city. Inside the city, cultivators were either sword flying, taming beasts, or riding flying boats, moving up and down throughout the city. They concealed their auras and, like ordinary cultivators, landed within the town. The calls of vendors were incessant, the streets were lined with bustling shops, and the roads were filled with mortals and cultivators, making it a lively scene. As a cultivator from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce, Nuke had seen even more bustling sights, even a commercial planet where the whole planet was a business street, so this scene didn't ruffle him internally. His gaze swept across and noticed that the mortals and cultivators on the road seemed to glance at them from time to time, with some cultivators whispering among themselves. But as immortals, Nuke and his party could easily overhear such whispers. Not from the human clan, nor from the demon clan. What clan are these few from? The leader, I seem to have seen a similar race before. I think they're called the Three-Eyed Clan. The last time I saw a cultivator from this race was an immortal. Really, the Three-Eyed Clan? They seem pretty powerful. What's there to fear? Can they be stronger than Lu Immortal? True, Lu Immortal is naturally the strongest. Yes. Lu Immortal. Nuke narrowed his eyes, thinking of the noble son from before, and then turned to Yuan Wu and the others, transmitting his voice. Find a place, transform into the appearance of the human clan, and then go out to inquire about everything about this Lu Immortal. The group quickly rented a courtyard, and one after another transformed into the appearance of the human clan, leaving the courtyard to gather intelligence. Meanwhile, Lu Yi and his party arrived at the White Cloud Immortal sect. After the others had left, only Lu Yi, Liu Ningxuang, the four of them, Ling Luo Peak Master and Yu Yuanwu, along with Yu Tianfeng and a few company commanders, arrived at the top of Ling Luo Peak. Upon seeing the array eye on Ling Luo Peak top that flickered with mysterious runes, Yu Tianfeng took an extra look and in surprise asked, "This array eye is not weak, did Yi create it?" After having experienced the great battle with the Rashomon clan, Yu Tianfeng naturally knew of Lu Yi's high array Tao proficiency. Lu Yi smiled and nodded, yes, just to be on the safe side. Chapter 661, 313 Absurd Answer 3. Chapter 661, -313, Absurd Answer /3. Yu Tianfeng finally laughed and said, "You caused such a commotion with your breakthrough in cultivation base. Even the ancestor was alerted. Worthy of being the chosen of Tao, you managed to induce the Tao tide when breaking through realms. The ancestor is very regretful, fearing that he would have gained considerably had he been present at that time." Upon hearing this, Lu Yi also thought about the matter. At the time of his previous breakthrough, he hadn't paid much attention, thinking if the Yu family ancestor had been there under the Tao tide, he might have furthered his understanding of Tao and thus come even closer to becoming an immortal king. If the Yu family ancestor could become an immortal king, then the threat from the Jiyu battlefield could be temporarily alleviated. At the very least, the few Yu family ancestors at the immortal venerable level were enough to suppress the 7 Jiyu battlefields, and if an immortal king emerged, the pressure would be greatly reduced. It was a pity he hadn't thought more about it earlier. Lu Yi laughed and said, "I also didn't expect my breakthrough to cause such a huge uproar. Next time I'm breaking through, I'll go to Jade Star. By then, the ancestor should be able to benefit as well." "Ha, it's good that you have this intention. The ancestor will definitely be very happy," Yu Tianfeng said with a laugh. "Your breakthrough commotion might attract some things. I'll stay here to guard for 5 years. After 5 years, there should be no more threats." Lu Yi nodded with a smile. "Then, thank you very much, Uncle Tianfeng." "What is there to be polite about?" Yu Tianfeng patted Lu Yi's shoulder and winked at him. "I also hope to enjoy the breath of Tao. I was very busy and missed the right time when you were cultivating in the Yu family. Now it turns out, those scoundrels each garnered considerable gains, while I got very little." Yu Tianfeng thought about the Yujia golden immortals whose cultivation levels were similar to his, and were now all making progress, making him feel quite sour. Now that he'd come to Tiananmen, he was of course willing. Hearing this, Lu Yi immediately showed a smile. "Since Uncle Tianfeng says so, I'll often incite the Taoist energy. If you stay on Ling Luo Peak, you will naturally be able to sense it." "That would be very good," Yu Tianfeng laughed happily. At that moment, he raised an eyebrow and looked in a certain direction, narrowing his eyes. "Those cultivators from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce have also come down. It seems they don't plan to leave." Lu Yi was surprised and frowned. "They followed along." Yu Tianfeng shook his head. "Not exactly, they went to other places, not sure what they are planning to do. Perhaps they too are drawn by the Taoist energy." Upon hearing this, Lu Yi calmed down and laughed. "If that's the case, then there's no need to bother with them. I'm planning to deliver a lecture on Tao after some time, and they probably will understand then." Truth be told, the attitude of those people from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce had been acceptable before, and Lu Yi had no intention of killing them. There was no need, for she was not a person who indulged in slaughter. Of course, if those people really sought death, even without Uncle Yu Tianfeng lifting a hand, she could kill them all by herself. After all, the strongest among them was just a late-stage profound immortal, and that wasn't enough to challenge her. "You're going to give a lecture on Tao. That's perfect, I'll listen too." Yu Tianfeng's eyes brightened, and he showed an expectant smile. "Ha, good, since Uncle Tianfeng is interested, I'll just start lecturing on Tao now." Lu Yi laughed and rose into the air. Chapter 662, 314 Space Node. Chapter 662, -314 Space Node. This was not the first time Lu Yi had given a sermon. As Lu Yi began his sermon, Taoist energy surged and mysterious Tao patterns appeared in the sky, creating myriad anomalies and causing a great commotion visible throughout Tiananmen. Under such anomalies, Yu Tianfeng felt inspirations constantly emerging in his mind, deepening his comprehension of the laws. He was astonished. Is this the state of Year's sermon? Such an opportunity is quite rare. The Ling Luo Peak Master and Liu Ningxuang, amongst others, were already accustomed to this, given that every few decades, Lu Yi would do this. The Ling Luo Peak Master spoke. Let's practice first, this state will last for a while. Yu Tianfeng nodded in agreement, and Liu Haking as well as others who were similarly stunned quickly came to their senses. They sat down cross-legged and began their cultivation. Inside a distant ancient city, as Nuke and others just split up to gather information without any significant findings, they heard a grand voice echoing throughout the entire ancient city, announcing the start of the sermon. Nuke walked alongside Yuan Wu when they heard the sound, both of them stunned and exchanging glances. This sounds like that young master's voice, Yuan Wu spoke. Nuke also nodded. As immortals, their memory was naturally excellent. Nothing could be forgotten unless due to an accident, and nothing faded away with the passage of time. However, what was a sermon? Both were puzzled. But soon, they discovered that the cultivators around seemed to understand the situation, each one brimming with excitement. It's Lu Immortal. Lu Immortal has started his sermon again. Hurry, hurry, find a place to practice. Dao's friend, is this spot taken? Sit. The cultivators flew back home on their swords, one by one, and those without a place in the area simply took a seat cross-legged on the rooftops, full of anticipation. Even the mortals were now shouting to return home. This left Yuan Wu and Nuke dumbfounded. What's happening? Why are they all leaving? Nuke couldn't comprehend. Just then mysterious Tao sounds emerged. These Tao sounds contained peculiar powers, immediately catching the attention of Yuan Wu and Nuke. And as the Tao sounds appeared, Taoist energy surged in the sky, and anomalies flourished, with mysterious Tao patterns coalescing. All at once, Nuke and Yuan Wu felt various insights flooding their minds. They widened their eyes in horror. This is Taoist energy. Such rich Taoist energy. The two were extremely shocked. They quickly realized why the other cultivators had all left so swiftly. Under such Taoist energy, any cultivator would gain insights. Even mortals would benefit. This is an enormous opportunity. Quick, let's go back and comprehend. Nuke snapped back to reality first, even feeling his own bottleneck loosening, and was beyond elated. Perhaps this opportunity would be enough for him to break through to the profound immortal realm. Although they were extremely eager, considering this was the young master's territory, they didn't dare to disturb the other cultivators. They retracted their aura, transformed into a streak of light, and vanished on the spot, heading towards their residence. Because Yu Tianfeng had traveled thousands of miles to come, and moreover to protect Tiananmen, Lu Yi simply extended the duration of his sermon a bit longer, only coming to a stop after more than a week. As Lu Yi ceased his sermon, the anomaly slowly disappeared, and the Taoist energy also began to calm down. Lu Yi turned into a stream of light and returned to Ling Luo Peak. At the summit of Ling Luo Peak, Lu Yi saw Yu Tianfeng and several company leaders sitting cross-legged, still in contemplation, and he did not disturb them. The Ling Luo Peak Master and Liu Ningxuang were not there. Presumably, they had gone back to their practice. Lu Yi thought for a moment, and then returned to his cave mansion to start his cultivation. Time passed a month later. At the summit of Ling Luo Peak, Yu Tianfeng and the company leaders gradually opened their eyes, which flickered with mysterious Tao patterns. The company leaders were strong at the profound immortal level, and Yu Tianfeng was a golden immortal. Their comprehension of the laws had naturally reached a considerably profound level, and they could inadvertently influence the reality around them. Yu Tianfeng exhaled slightly, feeling his own progress, and exclaimed, "Surely a person favored by the heavenly Tao, Year's single sermon can even provide such great help to a golden immortal like myself." Liu Haking and others like Qi Mingluo were equally overjoyed. Indeed, young Master Lu Yi is too formidable. I feel my bottleneck loosening, and it won't be long before I can break through to the peak of profound immortal. If I can listen to young Master Lu Yi's sermon a few more times, I might become a golden immortal in my lifetime, Liu Haking said excitedly. Qi Mingluo spoke seriously. Military leader, personally, I believe young Master Lu Yi is incredibly talented, and leaving him and the second miss alone in Tiananmen is somewhat dangerous. After all, not everyone in the Sky Falling Star domain would respect our Yu family's strength. Why not let my 10th company brothers stay to protect young Master Lu Yi? The others were surprised, and Liu Haking and the rest looked at Qi Mingluo in disbelief. Damn, you kid are getting ahead of yourself. Why should your 10th company stay in Tiananmen? If it's about proximity to young Master Lu Yi, we in the 12th company have fought side by side with young Master Lu Yi. If anyone is to stay and protect young Master Lu Yi, it should be our 12th company brothers, Liu Haking retorted, spitting as he cursed. Chapter 663, 314 space node 2. Chapter 663, minus 314 space node backslash 2. The company commanders around him were all cunning individuals, and one after another, they offered to stay behind to protect Lu Yi. Our third company can stay too. We won't compete with you for military achievements and points on the battlefield. We're all brothers after all, so let us handle the thankless task of protecting young Master Lu Yi, one said. Get lost, you think you're capable. I'll give up the 7th company's military achievements to you, just let our 7th company stay, another retorted. Watching the company commanders of the 6th Legion bicker, Yu Tianfeng's face darkened as he coldly snorted, Enough. Immediately, the arguing commanders shrank their necks, not daring to speak any further. Yu Tianfeng glared at the company commanders and rebuked them. How unseemly is such squabbling? My 6th Legion guards a territory spanning thousands of light years. Do you all want to stay here, and who will guard the other star sectors? Did the Yu family cultivate you to squabble over opportunities here? Upon hearing this, each of the company commanders showed expressions of guilt and knelt on one knee. We were too greedy. Please punish us, military leader, they exclaimed. Yu Tianfeng's expression softened slightly as he said slowly, Get up. Acknowledging your mistake and correcting it is enough. Damn it, he himself couldn't stay here, yet these bastards were insistent on doing so. Yu Tianfeng thought it over and then slowly stated, I will propose to the Yu family to construct a star gate in the Tiananmen star system that connects our 6th Legion base to this place. If you have a rotation break, you can come to Tiananmen. With some luck, you might get to hear a lecture. Upon hearing this, Liu Haking and others immediately lit up with surprise on their faces. Thank you, military leader. Your wisdom is extraordinary. Yu Tianfeng, of course, had his own motives, not just for Liu Haking and the others. He, too, wished to hear more lectures. But each legion's base needed to guard important sectors, and nearby stargates existed for support purposes. If he stayed here and some incident occurred in another area, even as a golden immortal, he wouldn't be able to get there in time. Especially if there was an emergency in the Jiu battlefield, he would need to rush there to suppress it immediately. Otherwise, Yu Tianfeng would even consider moving the main base of the 6th Legion, the Tiananmen star system. If there was a lecture by Lu Yi, and all his 6th Legion brothers could listen together, wouldn't their cultivation bases soar rapidly? What a pity! Yu Tianfeng sighed internally, and also made up his mind that he must discuss with his family the necessity of leaving a star gate in Tiananmen. This was not only for listening to Lu Yi's lectures, but also for the safety of Lu Yi and Yu Lingluo. As previously stated by Liu Haking and the others, there were just too many in the sky-falling star domain who did not give face to the Yu family. Before, Tiananmen was remote with hardly any strong beings paying attention to it. But now, as Lu Yi's strength grew ever stronger, that might change in the future. If Tiananmen or even Lu Yi himself became the target of powerful beings, without a stargate, even he would need considerable time to travel here using the space traversal Great Array, and would also spend a vast amount of resources. But with a stargate, it would be different. Thinking of this, Yu Tianfeng decided to discuss the matter with Ling Luo Peak Master and Lu Yi. Meanwhile, inside the ancient city, at the dwelling of Nuke and his folks, Nuke slowly opened his eyes, which shimmered with strands of blue-green light as though a storm was brewing. After a moment, the stormy turbulence subsided, and his eyes returned to calm. Nuke stood up, his face filled with surprise and smiles. He could feel his bottleneck loosening. Originally, it might have taken him 100,000 years to break through to the profound immortal realm. But now, at the very least, he had saved 10,000 years of arduous cultivation. That was a whole 10,000 years. Even for Nuke, that was a long time. If I could hear that Lu Immortal lecture a few more times, I'm sure I can break through to the profound immortal realm, Nuke muttered to himself, brimming with excitement. Then Nuke thought of something and left the room. In the yard, Yuan Wu and the other followers were already gathered. Whether it was Yuan Wu or the others, they all wore smiling faces, clearly having each gained something. When they saw Nuke, They quickly got to their feet. "Young master, you finished your seclusion. Did you gain anything?" Yuan Wu eagerly asked. Nuke nodded. "Yes, the gains are not small." "That's wonderful. Congratulations, young master, for moving a step closer to becoming a profound immortal." Yuan Wu and the others all smiled. Nuke smiled too and then said, "Right, continue your investigation. Find out the identity and information of that young master. That young master is probably the Lu Immortal they mentioned before. Considering what those mortals meant, Lu Immortal doesn't just lecture once or twice. We must clearly understand how often he lectures. If you can find out other information, all the better." Hearing this, Yuan Wu and the others nodded. "Understood." "Go on then." Watching the group leave, Nuke sat down on a stone chair in the courtyard, his gaze flickering with anticipation. "If that gentleman could lecture once every 1,000 years, I could perhaps break through to the profound immortal realm within 10,000 years. Later, Nuke laughed at himself and shook his head. "What am I thinking? When did I start dreaming such unrealistic dreams? That young master has already shown great generosity and magnanimity by preaching to the world. It's already a great kindness to the people of this immortal star. To expect him to lecture once every 1,000 years is simply too greedy." Chapter 664, 314 Space Node 3. Chapter 664, -314 Space Node /3. Nuke felt a bit shameless himself. He only hoped that the young master would deliver divine lectures once in 10,000 years. With such an opportunity and his own diligent cultivation, he was confident he could break through to the profound immortal realm within 50,000 years. 50,000 years to break the bottleneck. By doing so, his position in the line of succession would surely advance. Thinking of this, Nuke revealed a slight smile. White Cloud Immortal Sect, Ling Luo Peak. Upon thinking about it, Yu Tianfeng immediately sought out the Ling Luo Peak Master and Lu Yi, who was cultivating, and shared his idea of establishing a star gate in the Tianming star system. "Year Tianming is after all your mother's star, what do you think?" Yu Tianfeng looked toward Lu Yi. Previously, Lu Yi had never considered this idea and didn't know much about stargates, only that they resembled fixed spatial teleportation arrays and would likely require a significant amount of resources. He looked toward the nearby Ling Luo Peak Master. "Master, what do you think?" The Ling Luo Peak Master reflected for a moment, then looked at Yu Tianfeng and asked, "Uncle Tianfeng, to establish a stargate, we'd need suitable space nodes, right? Are there such space nodes near the Tianming star system?" Yu Tianfeng replied, "If you agree, we will send people to investigate. If it's really not feasible, then, even at the cost of a vast amount of resources, we can create a space node right here." Forcibly create a space node. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master was surprised. Wouldn't that require too many resources? After all, normal space lines are orderly, and while opening a Stargate space node on them, the space lines are not as stable as normal space lines, and space depressions may even appear. Opening a Stargate in such a region, albeit resource-intensive, is considered acceptable in light of subsequent benefits. But to create a Stargate in a normal space region would mean forcibly disrupting a large swath of space lines, turning them into a space well, which requires a tremendous amount of energy, and maintaining such a space well would also demand considerable energy. However, with Year's ever-increasing cultivation base, and the growing disturbances from his cultivation and lectures, it's likely that more and more powerful beings will take notice of Tianming. If you're willing to cultivate on Jade Star, that's fine, but if you wish to stay on Tianming, we must consider your safety, and thus may need to think about establishing a Stargate. Hearing this, Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master exchanged glances. As for the Ling Luo Peak Master, that was one thing, but as for Lu Yi, if possible, he naturally hoped to stay on Tianming. After all, this was the place where he was born and grew up. Although Jade Star was good, now that his cultivation base had grown strong, he hoped to do something for Tianming. Every time he lectured, Taoist energy surged and Tianming's environment transformed along with it, with spiritual energy growing ever stronger. After this period of divine lectures, Tianming's spiritual energy concentration had increased substantially compared to right after its transformation into an immortal star. While listening to the Ling Luo Peak Master and Yu Tianfeng, he pondered and then said, "Need a space node? I think I can help with that." Hearing this, both Yu Tianfeng and the Ling Luo Peak Master were taken aback. Then Yu Tianfeng showed a hint of surprise. "Year, do you know where there is a space node?" He was of course aware that Lu Yi possessed an immensely profound mastery of space law, giving him a unique perception of space lines. Lu Yi was momentarily startled, then smiled and said, "Not exactly, but I think I can create one." Yu Tianfeng, Ling Luo Peak Master. Chapter 665, 315, Absorbing Chaos Divine Crystal. Chapter 665-315, Absorbing Chaos Divine Crystal. You can create one. Yu Tianfeng looked at Lu Yi with an incredibly odd expression. Lu Yi nodded. If we want a space node similar to those in other Stargate regions, I am pretty confident I could create it, but it would take quite a bit of time. Lu Yi's comprehension of the space law had reached perfection, so the space law was sufficiently understood, but the problem was that his strength wasn't powerful enough. He was merely a true immortal. If he had reached the golden immortal level, creating a space node wouldn't take much time, but lower cultivation level means smaller energy output, so naturally, it would have to be done slowly. Yu Tianfeng and the Ling Luo Peak Master looked at each other with odd expressions on their faces. The Ling Luo Peak Master said uneasily, "Brat, I know your grasp of the space law isn't weak, but are you sure you can create such a space node?" Lu Yi smiled. "Of course, Master can rest assured." Yu Tianfeng asked, "How long do you think it will take to create it?" Lu Yi thought about his current strength, and after consideration, he said, "Probably a few hundred years." Of course, this was his conservative estimate. If his strength improved or if he spent more time on it, the process would certainly be faster. A few hundred years, that's already quite fast. Yu Tianfeng's face showed a surprised smile. "If we really can't find a space node nearby, then we'll have to trouble you year." Lu Yi shook his head. "Uncle Tianfeng is too kind. This is also for the sake of Tianming. After all, with the Stargate, even if Tianming encountered danger, the Star Realm army would surely arrive much faster." "Ha, since it's decided, then I'll send someone to scout for a suitable space node in the vicinity to construct the Stargate," Yu Tianfeng said with a laugh. Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master both nodded, and thus the matter was settled. Inside the ancient city, Nuke looked at the returning Yuan Wu and others, listening to the information they had collected about Lu Yi, with a face that kept changing and an expression that was quite rich. After the group had reported all the news about Lu Yi, Nuke was silent for a long time, his expression slightly stupefied. Yuan Wu and the others exchanged looks, not surprised by Nuke's reaction. In fact, when they first learned of this information, they themselves couldn't believe it. Who could have imagined that Lu Immortal, who had even caught the attention of the Yu family ancestor and made the military leader of the Star Realm army smile with respect, would turn out to be a cultivator native to this planet? And not so long ago, this planet was merely a mortal star. Merely because this gentleman ascended, this mortal star underwent a transformation and became an immortal star. Such occurrences were unheard of throughout the entire Three-Eyed Star region, and even among all the planets known to the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce. How strong exactly is this gentleman's talent? Nuke muttered to himself. The life of Lu Yi was too legendary for Nuke. If he hadn't seen Lu Yi with his own eyes, he couldn't have believed that such an exceptional prodigy existed in the Three-Eyed Star region. Indeed, the second lady of the Yu family recognized the pearl that was this gentleman when his cultivation was still weak, taking him in as her direct disciple. Yuan Wu spoke up. Nuke nodded, then his eyes shimmered with a surprised smile as he reconfirmed. "From what you're saying, this gentleman preaches once every few decades." "Yes, young master, we have inquired about it and it happens every few decades." Yuan Wu was also all smiles. The others were equally filled with joy. Such a good person this gentleman is. Preaching like this is a rare opportunity for us, and he does it every few decades. No wonder there are so many immortals on this immortal star. Nuke and his entourage were from the immortal realm. Naturally, they also sensed that Tianming was teeming with the breath of immortals. Nuke speculated that apart from some of the immortals being natives of Tianming, others must have discovered the opportunity here and thus stayed to cultivate. Thinking of this, Nuke's lips curled into a smile. "If that's the case, let's stay here. If this gentleman preaches once every century, I might be able to break through in 2,000 years." The thought of breaking through the profound immortal realm bottleneck and advancing to the profound immortal realm in such a short time was even somewhat unbelievable to Nuke himself. This rate was far quicker than he had originally anticipated. "Congratulations, young master." Yuan Wu and the others were also full of smiles, for as followers of Nuke, the stronger and higher his status rose, the more they would benefit. If the young master can really break through to the profound immortal realm within 2,000 years, the potential he displays would far surpass even Mr. Buren, who is first in line. The young master is sure to become the true master of the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce. Yuan Wu beamed, and as a guardian having accompanied Nuke as he grew up, he naturally stood to gain the most. Unable to hide his smile, Nuke's eyes twinkled with expectation. He then thought of something, his gaze flickered for a moment, and he said, "By the way, I heard this gentleman has quite a few followers here." Yes, it's said that they are the descendants of the Immortal sect Holy Land on this planet, and they followed him even before he ascended. This gentleman is so generous with ordinary people, let alone those followers. It's said they have all caught his eye and received a lot of help, replied Yuan Wu. As he spoke of this, envy flashed in Yuan Wu's eyes, who was standing nearby. Chapter 666, 315, Absorbing the Chaos Divine Crystal 2. Chapter 666, -315, Absorbing the Chaos Divine Crystal /2. The followers of Nuke were of the same mind. Even though Nuke had an amazing talent and didn't treat them badly, there's an old saying, comparisons are odious, especially when compared to that young master. Nuke naturally fell short by a wide margin. Nuke swept his gaze over Yuan Wu and the others, understanding their envy. Narrowing his eyes, he spoke up, "Merely mortals, yet they became that young master's followers. Perhaps even I have a chance." Hearing this, Yuan Wu and the others were startled, looking at Nuke with some astonishment. "Yo, young master, you wish to become that young master's follower?" Nuke raised an eyebrow, scanning his gaze over Yuan Wu and the others. "Why not? Although my Bolo's Chamber of Commerce is a top force in the Three-Eyed Star region, when looking at the entire sky-falling star domain, it might not even be considered first-rate, while that young master is someone even the Yu family ancestor holds in high esteem. Given his talent, it would be my honor to become his follower." Nuke had a very clear understanding of his own status. He knew his identity, talent, and cultivation base were among the top of the younger generation in the Three-Eyed Star region. But it was only true within the Three-Eyed Star region. The entire sky-falling star domain was vast and boundless, and the Three-Eyed Star region was inconspicuous within it. Other regions harbored even more powerful forces and geniuses. And yet, Lu Yi was a man so highly esteemed by those at the immortal venerable level, the mere act of discussing Tao could cause fluctuations. He was far beyond Nuke's comparison. Moreover, after learning more, Nuke also understood that Lu Yi had a kind nature, taking great care of the mortals from his homeland, willing to pass on his teachings. Would he treat his own followers any worse? For Nuke, becoming a follower of Lu Yi might be the greatest opportunity of his life. Listening to Nuke's words, Yuan Wu and the others gradually snapped back to reality. They had always mixed in the Three-Eyed Star region, where Nuke was considered a top prodigy. But as Nuke said, he was just a top prodigy of the Three-Eyed Star region. Realizing this, Yuan Wu and the rest exchanged glances, their expressions somber. "Since the young master has such plans, then we naturally offer our full support." If Nuke really became a follower of Lu Yi, it would undoubtedly be a great opportunity, and should Nuke gain from it, those who followed him would also benefit. It would definitely be much better than their current situation. How could they have any reason to refuse? If that's the case, then let's investigate that young master's followers. Yes. After Yu Tianfeng arrived at Tianming, Lu Yi could finally be completely at ease. With Yu Tianfeng present, he no longer needed to worry about any powerful beings coming to Tianming and causing harm. Thus, Lu Yi could cultivate in peace. Each day he either comprehended the laws, array Tao, alchemy Tao, path of artifact refining, or enhanced his cultivation base. However, as his cultivation base improved, Lu Yi encountered a serious problem. Although he had obtained a significant amount of star marrow in the Jiyu battlefield not long ago, his cultivation speed accelerated once he broke through to the true immortal realm, and the rate at which he absorbed star marrow also increased rapidly. He found that the star marrow might not even sustain his cultivation for a few hundred years. Without sufficient cultivation resources, it would be impossible for him to advance rapidly. After some thought, Lu Yi decided that when time permitted, he would need to visit the Jiyu battlefield, challenge a dungeon, and harvest a wave of cultivation resources. Once the decision to establish a Stargate outside Tianming was made, professionals arrived at Tiananmen and began to search for suitable spatial nodes in the Tiananmen star system and the neighboring regions. They found none. Therefore, Lu Yi had a new task, creating a spatial node suitable for opening a stargate. The professionals in charge of forging the stargate were initially dumbfounded when they heard about this task. As artifact refiners and array masters tasked with creating stargates, they knew all too well the extraordinary power required to create a spatial node. A true immortal creating a spatial node. They even wondered if they were dreaming. But since both Yu Tianfeng and Ling Luo Peak Master didn't object, they naturally didn't say much, only watching in silence. In fact, building a spatial node only required profound mastery of the space law. By using the space law to reorganize and change the distribution of spatial lines in a region, gradually, a spatial node would be formed. When Lu Yi began the work, he found that only a mastery of more than 80% of the space law was necessary. For Lu Yi, this was naturally not a difficult task, as his space law had reached perfection. The only trouble was that it was somewhat draining on the immortal spirit Qi, since using the space law to its full extent was greatly consuming. And reorganizing spatial lines was a massive project that could only be done gradually. When Lu Yi actually started changing the distribution of spatial lines, the artifact refiners and array masters who came to construct the Stargate nearly popped their eyes out in shock. They finally understood why Yu Tianfeng made such a massive effort to construct a Stargate in such a remote area. What kind of monster was this individual? A mere true immortal, yet capable of altering the distribution of spatial lines. Once sure that Lu Yi could indeed create a spatial node, Yu Tianfeng and the Ling Luo Peak Master were thoroughly reassured. The subsequent time became very serene. 5 years passed quickly. During those 5 years, several groups of star sky pirates and other powerful beings attracted by the Tao Tide came along, including even groups of heavenly demons. Chapter 667, 315 Absorbing Chaos, Divine Crystal 3. Chapter 667, -315 Absorbing Chaos, Divine Crystal /3. The mightiest heavenly demon had reached the golden immortal level, not weak by any means. But clearly, Yu Tianfeng was stronger. Even the golden immortal level heavenly demons couldn't last many rounds against him and were eventually suppressed and sealed by him. 5 years later, Yu Tianfeng and the others left. Only then did Lu Yi have the opportunity to absorb the Chaos Divine Crystal. Over these years, his main focus had been the Array Tao. At this moment, the great array he was inscribing was even stronger than before. He directly created an extremely powerful concealing great array to cover his cultivation room and began his closed-door cultivation. The Chaos Divine Crystal was a white crystal, with white flowing light flickering within it. However, upon closer inspection, this white light seemed to contain endless splendor. Just by holding the Chaos Divine Crystal, Lu Yi felt a shivering aura. Such an aura, even with his current extremely strong physical body, felt somewhat unbearable. He closed his eyes and began to absorb and refine the Chaos Divine Crystal. Strands of Chaos Qi were absorbed into his body, and the Chaos Essence, mysterious beyond compare, merged into every part of him, commencing a transformation in his body, as well as in his spirit and immortal spirit Qi. Every cell of his was flickering with mysterious brilliance under the Chaos Essence, as if containing endless possibilities. His immortal spirit Qi, under the refinement of Chaos Essence, kept condensing. The Tao world seed within him shone even brighter, absorbing strands of Chaos Qi. Around Lu Yi, vast anomalies emerged, with Taoist energy surging all around and chaotic power circulating along with it. These anomalies were blocked by the Great Array and did not leak out. Lu Yi absorbed one after another, until all 10 Chaos Divine Crystals were taken in. When the last Chaos Divine Crystal was absorbed, Lu Yi, sitting cross-legged, saw the vast and boundless anomalies around him slowly converge and vanish. Lu Yi slowly opened his eyes, which glimmered with mysterious brilliance, then slowly faded away. He exhaled a breath of turbid air and clenched his fist, revealing a slight smile. Having absorbed the Chaos Divine Crystals, his cultivation base did not increase by much, but his foundation had become much stronger than before. Now within Lu Yi's sight, Tao patterns were clearly visible, and even in his vision, those Tao patterns could be broken down into even simpler parts, no longer as obscure and hard to understand as before. You should know that even though Lu Yi had comprehended the law to perfection before, he still had only a vague understanding of the essence of Tao patterns. But now it was different. Given time, he could completely understand the essence of the Tao, pointing directly to the origin. Origin power is above the laws, a force that only immortal kings and immortal emperors can master. Even an immortal venerable can only glimpse part of it, unable to comprehend the whole picture. But now Lu Yi, clearly only at the true immortal realm, was able to glimpse its mysteries. Though it was unrealistic to think he could completely master it in a short time, for Lu Yi, there was no bottleneck in mastering the origin. And this was just one of the changes. Lu Yi felt the most significant change was in his physical body. After the refinement of the 10 chaos divine crystals, the strength of his physical body soared to an astonishing degree. Even with just his physical body, he could defeat late-stage profound immortal powerhouses, not to mention law-level forces like the power law. With the addition of extreme immortal skills, Lu Yi felt that he probably had no match in the profound immortal realm. The question was whether he could defeat a golden immortal with his strength. Of course, fighting a peak golden immortal like Yu Tianfeng was obviously out of the question. Lu Yi's goal was the early-stage golden immortals, those who had just stepped into the realm. If he could defeat this level of powerhouse with his own strength, then that was quite impressive. Besides, his immortal spirit Qi had also improved after being tempered by the chaos essence. Although his cultivation base had not increased, but the quality had multiplied several times compared to before. And the Tao world seed inside him, having absorbed a bit of chaos Qi, now possessed a hint of chaos aura. Moving forward to create his own chaos world, he at least had a Kidian. Chapter 668, 316, 130 year. After absorbing the chaos divine crystal, there was also a slightly unfavorable aspect. That was his foundation had become even stronger, and his combat power far surpassed his previous level. However, similarly, the resources needed for breakthroughs had also increased. He feared he would need to go to the Jiu battlefield much earlier. But the upside was that his speed of absorbing star marrow had also accelerated, and his cultivation speed had actually improved quite a bit from before. After leaving the cultivation room, Lu Yi resumed his tranquil daily life. In this way, Lu Yi's days were either spent in cultivation, understanding and practicing various skills, or creating spatial nodes. Sometimes he took time off to accompany Liu Ningxuang and the others, enjoying trips to mountains and rivers and touring various nations. Sometimes he would also gather with the heavenly dragon Saint Sun and others whose paths had crossed with Lu Yi during his continuous growth. At this moment, with Lu Yi at their core, he naturally did not neglect them, and he also did not lag behind in fostering them. Although the quantity of star marrow was limited, these cultivators had not yet ascended and really did not need resources like star marrow. Lu Yi had many unused mortal realm cultivation resources from before, which he had largely distributed to them. Under Lu Yi's cultivation, their cultivation speed was also naturally fast. In the future, they should serve as a combat force, being useful on the Jiu battlefield. Although Lu Yi's power was strong, the number of Jiu demons was vast, even he needed allies. As time passed, 100 years later, Lu Yi broke through to the true immortal second level. This cultivation speed was not even slower than when he was in the heavenly immortal realm. Such was the effect brought by the chaos divine crystal. Besides the breakthrough in cultivation base, Lu Yi had also made significant improvements in other areas. Though his understanding of the origin had not progressed much, his comprehension of the Tao patterns had allowed him to delve into other laws, mastering more laws than before. Moreover, with 100 years of effort, the spatial nodes were nearly complete. Soon, construction of the Stargate could begin. Another 30 years passed, and Lu Yi completely finished creating the spatial nodes. This speed was much quicker than he had originally anticipated, which was also due to the power boost brought by swallowing the chaos divine crystal. After completing the spatial nodes, Lu Yi informed his master, who then contacted the Yu family within. Before long, Yu Tianfeng arrived with artifact refiners, and array masters meant for constructing the Stargate. These array masters and artifact refiners were the same group as last time. Although they had seen Lu Yi's capabilities before and understood that he truly had the ability to create spatial nodes. But to see a suitable spatial node just in a little over 100 years, they were still somewhat numb. This speed was it not too fast? A little over 100 years, even for a recently ascended heavenly immortal, was merely a flick of a finger, let alone for a true immortal. Even Yu Tianfeng had not expected Lu Yi to be so quick. You really have given me a big surprise," he said with a beaming smile. As long as the Stargate was successfully built, then traveling from the base to Tiananmen would be much more convenient, also saving a lot of resources. Young Master Lu, his methods are truly admirable. If in the future young Master Lu, you could assist in creating spatial nodes in other areas, then perhaps our Tianluo star domain could form a sufficiently convenient network of stargates, making travel anywhere extremely convenient, said an elderly man with white hair, his cultivation already at the peak of profound immortal, also a very powerful artifact refiner, the leader of these artifact refiners, named Yu Ming. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi had not spoken when Yu Tianfeng frowned and said, "Yu Ming, how could years' time be wasted on such matters? Tianluo star domain is so vast, covering it with stargates is not something a few spatial nodes can solve. Even if Year could create one node every 100 years or so, achieving what you suggest would take at least tens of thousands of years, maybe even longer. For a genius like Year, this is totally putting the cart before the horse." Yu Tianfeng was decisively against it. From his perspective, Lu Yi's talent was so exceptional that, in tens of thousands of years, he might be able to cultivate to the golden immortal. It was somewhat unworthy to waste that time on this. Although if a star network could be built, it would be a great thing for Tianluo star domain, but it also depended on what it was compared to. Lu Yi's cultivation was obviously more important than this star network. Yu Ming was shocked by the words, then realized, remembering that this young lord in front of him was highly valued even by the old ancestor. That he could even create spatial nodes while in the true immortal realm spoke volumes. Such a person, if he devoted all his time to creating spatial nodes, that indeed would be a waste. He quickly apologized. "My apologies for being presumptuous, military leader. Please don't be angry, young Master Lu Yi, don't mind." Lu Yi smiled. "No worries, Array Master Yu's ideas are indeed good. If I have some free time, I can help build some key spatial nodes for you." Hearing this, Yu Ming was delighted, then remembered and cautiously glanced at Yu Tianfeng. Yu Tianfeng helplessly looked at Lu Yi. "Year, this time creating spatial nodes is for your and Ling Luo's safety considerations. Other places, why would you need to worry? The Yu family has controlled Tianluo star domain for countless years and has never faced major chaos. Even without spatial nodes, it has been trouble-free." Chapter 669, 316, 130 years 2. Chapter 669-316, 130 years /2. Lu Yi smiled and said, "Uncle Tianfeng, the Yu family has been so good to me, I must repay them in some way." Upon hearing this, Yu Tianfeng felt torn and asked worriedly, "Won't this affect your cultivation?" "Don't worry, Uncle Tianfeng, it won't have any effect." "Well then, since you are willing, we'll do as you say. But you mustn't let it impact your cultivation, otherwise our ancestor might kill me." Yu Tianfeng grimaced, the thought of the consequences should the elder find out making his scalp tingle. "Ha, don't worry, Uncle Tianfeng, I'll be careful." Seeing that the matter was settled, Yu Ming and others all revealed smiles of pleasant surprise. "Thank you, young Master Lu Yi." For them, the array masters and artifact refiners, constructing a stargate was a great opportunity to train, and would greatly assist in improving their mastery of the array Tao and the path of artifact refining. Of course, being the team responsible for constructing stargates, they were also acutely aware that the number of stargates in the sky falling star domain was severely lacking, resulting in inconvenient travel in many areas. There was no helping it, after all. How could there be so many naturally formed space nodes? Man-made space nodes, on the other hand, came at a much higher price. Now that they had Lu Yi, many important regions without stargates would gradually see their appearance in the future. This was going to be a great boon for the entire sky falling star domain. Yu Tianfeng snorted coldly, glanced at Yu Ming and the others and ordered, "Begin constructing the stargate." "Yes." Watching the array masters and artifact refiners get busy, Lu Yi thought of something and turned to Yu Tianfeng. "By the way, Uncle Tianfeng, I'm planning to visit the Zhenan battlefield after some time." Yu Tianfeng was startled and looked at Lu Yi in surprise. "Go to the Zhenan battlefield? Why? You know the Jihu demons are very interested in you. For you to go to the Jihu battlefield, it might be even more dangerous than for the average person. Lu Yi smiled. It's nothing much. I've just had some insights in my cultivation recently and would like to gain some experience. Hearing this, Yu Tianfeng expressed understanding. As for a cultivator, gaining experience was equally important. Secluding oneself to improve one's cultivation base might be beneficial, but some insights also stemmed from such experiences. In his eyes, even someone like Lu Yi was no exception. Yu Tianfeng nodded slightly, after pondering for a moment. Then when the time comes, I'll accompany you. Lu Yi's mouth twitched. With you, a golden immortal, accompanying me to the Zhenin battlefield, what kind of training could I possibly get? But your safety is the most important, said Yu Tianfeng, frowning. Rest assured, Uncle Tianfeng, do you not know my strength? I have mastered Space Series Golden Immortal skills, coupled with the profound knowledge of the space law. There should be no Jihu demons in the Zhenin battlefield capable of holding me back. Hearing this, Yu Tianfeng thought it over and had to admit that Lu Yi had a point. With his cultivation base and strength, in a battlefield that only had Jihu demons of the profound immortal level, he virtually had no natural predators. With that in mind, Yu Tianfeng no longer pressed the issue. Since you have made up your mind, I won't say more. But if anything happens, make sure to prioritize staying alive. Don't worry, Uncle Tianfeng, I understand what to do. But after bidding farewell to Yu Tianfeng, Lu Yi returned to Ling Luo Peak. Lu Yi planned to go to the Jihu battlefield partly to obtain cultivation resources, as his were almost exhausted. Besides that, there was another matter, a visit to the home planet of Red Butterfly. He had already promised Red Butterfly to protect her people. Previously, he was occupied with absorbing the Chaos Divine Crystal and constructing the space nodes, so he could not spare the time. Now that he was finished with his tasks, Lu Yi naturally planned to fulfill his promise. He went directly to Red Butterfly's cave mansion. Since following Lu Yi, it was clear to everyone that he highly valued the Red Clan, and the group, including Red Butterfly, had been granted cave mansions on Ling Luo Peak. Red Butterfly's cave mansion was even located in the Elder's area, not far from his own dwelling. As soon as Red Butterfly, who was cultivating in seclusion, heard of Lu Yi's visit, she emerged immediately. When the door to the cave mansion opened, the peerless beauty with light pink skin and red hair saw Lu Yi approach and swiftly kneeled on one knee. Red Butterfly greets the master. Lu Yi rubbed his forehead in resignation. Stand up, I've told you before, there's no need to always kneel like this. This matter had already been addressed several times by Lu Yi, but Red Butterfly was stubborn about it. The master saved Red Butterfly in our people's lives and bestowed upon us such precious cultivation methods. How could Red Butterfly not show respect to the master? Red Butterfly said seriously. Lu Yi sighed helplessly, glancing at Red Butterfly, who had fully unleashed her talents after obtaining the fire-based immortal scripture from him. In just over 100 years, she had soared from the Mahayana realm, breaking through to the third layer of tribulation crossing. A large part of this was due to Red Butterfly's strong innate talent, but the rich, immortal spirit Qi of Ling Luo Peak played an important role as well, not to mention the extra help Lu Yi occasionally provided her. In truth, Red Butterfly had a strong talent, and Lu Yi had high hopes for her, bestowing her with extra care. And Red Butterfly did not disappoint his expectations. Her speed of cultivation was comparable even to his fellow senior sisters from back in the day. Forget it. As Red Butterfly had her own views on this matter, Lu Yi did not insist further. He shook his head and then said, "Get ready, I'm taking you back to your home planet." Hearing these words, Red Butterfly was stunned. Then her face lit up with a joyous smile, and she looked at Lu Yi with immense excitement. "Master, are you serious?" Chapter 670, 316, 130 years 3. Chapter 670-316, 130 years /3. This is the promise I made to you before, and now it is time to fulfill it, Lu Yi said with a smile. After all these years, you must also be missing home. Red Butterfly slowly nodded. Yes, the Star Wind Pirates still have some of their strong members on my home planet, confining my people. I am constantly worried. Lu Yi smiled. If that is the case, you should quickly get ready. We will leave shortly. I don't need to prepare. I can leave at any time, Red Butterfly said loudly. She was constantly worried about her people still on her home planet. After all, the Star Wind Pirates had died, but who knew whether those on the home planet had received the news or if they would take their anger out on the home planet. However, because her master had not spoken earlier, she had forcibly held back from discussing this matter. Lu Yi looked at Red Butterfly, her expression worried, and nodded. If that's the case, then let's just leave right away. Lu Yi, along with Red Butterfly, first went to visit Liu Ningxuang and the three others in their cave mansion. This time, after all, they were heading to Zhenan battlefield, and even the strongest Jiyu demons on the battlefield were merely at the profound immortal realm. Yet since it was the Jiyu battlefield, to be safe, Lu Yi still planned to bring along his senior sisters. Especially since, with Lu Yi's breakthrough to the true immortal realm, the Tao Yin-Yang immortal scripture had also greatly improved, and the Yin-Yang Tao Seal secret skill had become much more powerful as well. If there were any problems, this would be a very strong trump card. When Lu Yi arrived, Liu Ningxuang had already opened the cave mansion, dressed in white like snow, with her black hair cascading like a waterfall, waiting for Lu Yi. "I felt like you were looking for me, so I came out," Liu Ningxuang said. After cultivating the Tao Yin-Yang immortal scripture, the few of them seemed to have developed a telepathic bond, experiencing mysterious hunches. For instance, they would sometimes feel it during dual cultivation. This moment was clearly one of those instincts. Lu Yi was no longer surprised by this. He smiled and said, "Yes, I plan to visit Red Butterfly's home planet and also go to the Zhenan battlefield." Liu Ningxuang glanced at the respectful Red Butterfly at her side, slightly nodded with a cool small smile. "I have made some progress in my cultivation recently. It might be good to go and train at the Zhenan battlefield. Then let's go find senior sister Ruyu." The three of them went to Giant Ruyu's cave mansion, but she was already on her way out when they arrived. She carried her jade sword on her back, looked at Lu Yi and winked. "Freakish junior brother, are you looking for me? Or is it Ningxuang?" Lu Yi was exasperated. "After all this time, can't you change how you address me? I'm a true immortal now." "Heh, impossible, never going to change." Giant Ruyu stood with her hands on her hips, quite proud of herself. Lu Yi, exasperated, "I'm looking for you, let's go." "Where to?" Giant Ryu asked, curious as she followed along. "Zhenan battlefield." At this, Giant Ryu's eyes lit up, and she followed with a hint of anticipation. Unlike Liu Ningxuang, who only trained when necessary, Giant Ryu was inherently fond of battles and would, even now, occasionally challenge Lu Yi to a spar. Though he easily suppressed her every time, she never grew tired of it. Soon, Lu Yi also found Donggong Mingyue and Yunzai. While Donggong Mingyue showed no particular reaction to going to the Zhenan battlefield, her expression turned strange when told they were going to Red Butterfly's home planet. She looked at Lu Yi and transmitted her voice. "Senior brother, are you planning to take in Red Butterfly? She's too weak still, she won't be able to bear it, right?" Lu Yi, frustrated, glared at Donggong Mingyue. Her mind seemed always filled with yellow thoughts. Looking at Yunzai, she appeared serene and composed, graceful and unhurried as if she were the flowers fairy herself. "I think Sister Minju is right, she's too weak, probably only able to last half a day." Yunzai's voice transmission rang out. "Lu Yi." He was exasperated and said morosely, "Yunzai, stay away from my junior sister, she's a bad influence." "Wow, where did I lead Yunzai astray? Senior brother, you're going to make me angry this way." "Go ahead and be angry." "Ah," Donggong Mingyue shouted in frustrated fury. Once everyone was gathered, Lu Yi looked towards Ling Luo Peak, thought for a moment, but decided not to call his master. After all, calling his senior sisters was just to be safe. His master, who hadn't practiced dual cultivation with him and didn't have the secret technique boost, was better off staying here to cultivate. Advancing in the profound immortal realm was much more difficult than in the true immortal or heavenly immortal levels. So the group boarded the Red Sun boat and disappeared in a streak of light. Chapter 671, 317 Chaotic Star Domain, Crimson Mother Star. "My lord, in my memory, it should be in this direction. Originally, I had discussed it with Senior Silver Moon, thus gaining a rough understanding of the direction of our mother star." In a dim starry sky, Red Butterfly looked at the surrounding stars, her voice uncertain as she spoke. Having been forcibly brought here, Red Butterfly had never left her mother's star before, and had only a rough understanding of its location. And these understandings were acquired from other slaves, who had been captured as well. It had been over 2 months since Lu Yi and the others left Tiananmen Star. Because the mother star of the Red Clan was not on the main shipping routes, and there were no stargates nearby. They had to continuously use the space-shifting great array to traverse space, finally arriving in this star region. Fortunately, as the Red Sun boat was a top-grade Immortal artifact, its internal space-shifting great array was incredibly powerful. Otherwise, the journey would have taken even longer. However, once in this star region, Red Butterfly was no longer certain about the exact location of their mother star. After being captured and imprisoned, Red Butterfly had never left her cage, and with her primordial spirit suppressed, she naturally couldn't determine the exact location. Donggong Mingyue looked at the vast expanse of the star region and frowned. Such a large star region isn't just a simple travel through. We can't just shuttle through space continuously. If we have to search one by one, when would we ever finish? Red Butterfly looked downcast, bowing slightly. Mistress is right, it was Red Butterfly's oversight. Liu Ningxuang frowned and turned to Lu Yi. Junior brother, what should we do? Lu Yi pondered briefly, then smiled slightly. No worries, I had already considered this. Since I've led you all out, naturally I have a way. Red Butterfly's eyes brightened, and she looked at Lu Yi with anticipation. My lord, what solution do you have? Lu Yi smiled. I have cultivated the fate technique at the Yu family. Using it to find people is not difficult. Hearing this, characters such as Jian Ruyu were suddenly enlightened. When they were at the Yu family, they too had heard of this secret technique, rumored to have emerged from the Abyss ruins. After all, such a secret technique, even in an immortal venerable family like the Yu family, was also considered extremely special. However, unlike Lu Yi, although they were given special treatment at the Yu family, they weren't allowed to be taught such a precious secret technique. In fact, with their cultivation base at merely the heavenly immortal level, even if they were allowed to cultivate this secret technique, they wouldn't have been able to do it successfully. The former peak master of Ling Luo Peak, who was already at the true immortal peak, had also only grasped a hint of the basics. The talent of the Ling Luo Peak master surpassed the four of them by quite a bit. To think that our abnormal junior brother successfully cultivated that secret technique, then there shouldn't be any problem. Yet Red Butterfly was utterly confused. Fate, such an ethereal and elusive thing, can it be cultivated? Red Butterfly was immensely shocked and unable to comprehend. Lu Yi smiled, his eyes gleaming with unfathomable Tao patterns, and in the next moment he deployed the fate technique. Soon, Lu Yi saw the fate line on Red Butterfly drifting towards the direction of the starry sky, extending deeply into the dark void. Now that we know the direction, let's go. Lu Yi smiled, maneuvering the Red Sun boat toward the direction indicated by the fate line. Controlling the shuttling distance, the Red Sun boat passed through several shuttles and quickly arrived at a massive star system. This star system contained 3 red giant stars, which formed a stable triple-star structure, surrounded by dozens of planets. These dozens of planets, tugged by the gravity of the 3 enormous stars, revolved around them day after day, a cycle expected to continue until the end of the stars' lifespans. As immortals, Lu Yi and his companions' eyesight even surpassed ordinary astronomical telescopes. Even to their eyes, the complete overview of the surrounding planets was clear. In the area closest to the 3 stars, there lay a strange red planet. Because it was too close to the 3 stars, its crust had nearly melted into a sea of red magma. The magma ebbed and flowed like tides during the planet's rotation, erupting in magma waves that soared thousands of meters high. While nearing this planet, Lu Yi saw 2 giant heavenly boats. The design of these 2 heavenly boats was identical to the Star Wind pirate boats he had previously encountered. Clearly, they were the Star Wind pirates stationed in this area. It's the mother star. Upon seeing the red planet, Red Butterfly's eyes sparkled, and she shouted excitedly. Moving closer, she placed a hand on her chest, whispering words in a dialect unknown to Lu Yi and others. It must have been the local language of their planet. Nevertheless, Lu Yi was able to roughly understand from Red Butterfly's spiritual consciousness that the words were akin to thanking the divine. Afterward, Red Butterfly looked toward Lu Yi, her eyes slightly red, kneeling on one knee. My lord, for your great kindness, Red Butterfly will devote her entire life to repay. Lu Yi smiled. Stand up. First, let's deal with those Star Wind pirates. Liu Ningxuang and the other 3 also nodded in agreement. Lu Yi piloted the Red Sun boat towards the red planet. They aboard the Star Wind pirates' heavenly boat. Inside the control room, a few of the Star Wind pirate cultivators leaned lazily against the wall, chatting idly. The control room required guarding, but since most of their comrades were off cultivating, they, being of lower rank, naturally got stuck with this task. One of the human cultivators yawned and complained, "When will these days end? I wonder when the big boss will come back to pick us up." Chapter 672, 317 Chaotic Star Domain, Crimson Mother Star 2. Chapter 672, -317 Chaotic Star Domain, Crimson Mother Star /2. It's still early. It would take at least 200 to 300 years to get to Chaos Star from here. If there are any delays, it could even take longer. By the time they sell the goods and return, it would be a very long time. It's not possible for them to be back so soon without 1,000 years or so, a cultivator from the Three-Eyed Clan said leisurely. Alas, I've never been to Chaos Star. I really want to go and see the world. I've heard that it's the intersection of the Sky Falling Star Domain, Rashomon Star Domain, and Crystal Spirit Star Domain. Must be bustling, a cultivator said wistfully. Bustling it is, but remember that's the Chaotic Star Domain, an area beyond jurisdiction. Countless brutal sky pirates and fugitives wanted by the three major star domains are hiding there. Without strength, you wouldn't even know how you died. Even we, the Star Wind Pirates, have to act cautiously there. It might be better not to go. The last time we went, a few of our brothers disappeared without a trace, a seasoned pirate sternly advised his companion. But everything is available there. I've heard that in Chaos Star, as long as you have money, you can get whatever you want, a newbie argued, not convinced. The old pirate glanced at the hopeful newbie and shook his head. Young people are not afraid of death. Speaking of which, this race has so many talents, they are quite the valuable catch. If our leader sells them all, we might also get a good share. Once our cultivation bases improve, our Star Wind Pirates' influence will surely expand, and we can even do better in the Chaotic Star Domain, another elder mused thoughtfully. The previously speaking old pirate nodded. Old Kuya is right, that makes sense. Perhaps our own cultivations could see an increase then. The surrounding cultivators all had shining eyes, full of anticipation. Let's hope our boss comes back quickly. Just then, a sudden urgent humming sound arose. In the control room, array patterns emerged, dazzling with flowing light. In the sky, a starry sky map was conjured. The two green dots on the starry sky map represented the location of their Star Wind Pirates' heavenly boat. Meanwhile, a red dot was rapidly approaching. All faces went pale with shock. An experienced pirate immediately shouted, "Someone's coming, who could it be?" Notify the fourth master. Also, warn the incoming party that this is the territory of our Star Wind Pirates. They're looking for death, daring to charge towards us. A pirate of the Three-Eyed Clan said with a brutal glint in his eyes. The group sprang into action without delay. Soon, a gray stone clan cultivator appeared, standing an imposing 4 meters tall, with a bulky physique as if he were made of condensed gray and white rock. This gray stone clan cultivator's aura was immensely powerful. He had reached the profound Immortal realm and was the fourth master of the Star Wind Pirates. With a calm expression, he entered the control room and looked straight at the star map. "What's going on?" "Fourth master, someone is heading our way. We've sent a warning, but they ignored it," the pirate on duty reported immediately. The fourth master's obsidian-like eyes flashed with a fierce light. "Did you announce our Star Wind Pirates' name?" In this region, the name of the Star Wind Pirates was always effective. Even the merchant ships of the top merchant forces of the Three-Eyed Star region had to obediently hand over their goods when facing the Star Wind Pirates. Of course, the Star Wind Pirates were not reckless. They always chose to avoid confrontation with opponents stronger than themselves. "Yes, we did, but they didn't stop," said another pirate. The fourth master narrowed his eyes. "This does not bode well." "Fourth master, what should we do?" Looking out at the red planet from the window, the fourth master said, "This is a treasure land. Since we, the Star Wind Pirates, discovered it, it belongs to us, and I certainly don't agree to share it." After a pause, he carefully sensed for a moment, then a cold smile emerged. A true immortal, 4 heavenly immortals, and one who has not even ascended. Who gave them the audacity to ignore our Star Wind Pirates' warning? The pirates were initially worried. Being sky pirates, facing all sorts of heavenly boats and cultivators, their greatest fear was encountering cultivators of extremely strong power, leaving them without even a chance to plead for mercy. This had instilled an instinctive caution in them, fearing that the boat ignoring their warning might contain figures they couldn't afford to provoke. Now it seemed to be a joke. This reassured the group of sky pirates. "Open the airlock. Let's go see who is foolish enough to come knocking," said the fourth master with an amused smile. Transforming into a stream of light, he led 3 true immortal-level cultivators and over 10 heavenly immortal-level cultivators out of the heavenly boat and into the vacuum of space. With their vision, they naturally saw a red celestial boat approaching at high speed. Before long, it had neared the area where they were located. Fourth Master suddenly noticed something and looked at the red celestial boat with a somewhat astonished expression. "Unsure," he said. "This heavenly boat, there's something off about it." A true immortal nearby, upon hearing this, quickly asked, "Fourth Master, what's wrong?" "This heavenly boat, it might be a high-grade immortal device." Fourth Master frowned, instinctively feeling that the power contained within the boat was somewhat dangerous even to him. This caused a slight change in the other's expressions. A high-grade immortal device. No wonder it dared to charge over here. A high-grade immortal device, if fully utilized, would be quite troublesome even for a profound immortal. Just then, the Red Sun boat came to a stop. Fourth Master frowned at the Red Sun boat and sneered. "Even if it is a high-grade immortal device, so what? Capture them alive. If a mere true immortal can wield a high-grade immortal device, their identity must be valuable. They might even be the heir of a major force. Catching them for ransom wouldn't be bad, consider it a bonus." Hearing this, the others' eyes lit up. This wasn't their first time doing such a thing. Capturing an heir of a major force often meant substantial wealth in its own right, and ransom could make them a fortune each time. Of course, in the face of such individuals, even Fourth Master became much more vigilant. If it really was a person from a major force, they often had numerous trump cards. Even he, a late-stage profound immortal, didn't dare be careless and risk capsizing in a gutter. Just then 6 figures flew out swiftly. It was Lu Yi and his companions. Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang's 4 were all at the immortal realm, where the vacuum of space was no different to them than the interior of a planet. As long as the environment wasn't too harsh, they could survive. As a tribulation crossing practitioner, Red Butterfly might not have a strong cultivation base, but she could also survive in a vacuum for a short time. She harbored a deep hatred for the Star Wind Pirates, as it was they who had confined her home star and treated their Red Clan like livestock, trafficking them. She wanted to witness the death of these Star Wind Pirates with her own eyes. Last time she had failed to witness it from her cage, which had been a regret for Red Butterfly. This time, she had explicitly asked Lu Yi for this. Satisfying such a minor request was natural for Lu Yi, so he brought Red Butterfly along. They quickly approached the Star Wind Pirates who had flown out. As Lu Yi and his companions got closer, Fourth Master's gaze swept across them, and when he saw Red Butterfly, the sneer on his face gradually faded and his expression turned rigid. Not just Fourth Master, the others reacted similarly. That person isn't that the Red Star's princess? Wasn't she taken by the Big Master to be sold in the chaotic star domain? How is she here? The group of Star Wind Pirates were incredibly astonished, communicating in hushed tones. Fourth Master's expression gradually darkened as he watched Lu Yi's group approaching calmly from a distance, feeling increasingly heavy-hearted. He realized something was terribly wrong. If the Red Princess was here, it meant that something must have gone wrong on the Big Master's end, and it was something major. Not only that, facing him, a late-stage profound immortal, a mere true immortal, and 4 heavenly immortals showed not the slightest hint of nervousness, which was outrageous. Fourth Master tried hard to sense even the faintest trace of nervousness in them, but there truly was none. Even more, Fourth Master saw scrutiny in their eyes. He knew very well what that meant. They were not afraid of him, and they didn't even consider him a threat at all. How could this be possible? Chapter 673, 318 Reincarnation of the Immortal Emperor. Chapter 673, -318 Reincarnation of the Immortal Emperor. The Star Wind Pirates, Fourth Master looked on with an icy expression, warily eyeing Lu Yi and his companions before finally fixing his gaze on Lu Yi himself. He had figured out that this remarkably young member of the human clan was their leader. "Who are you? Why is our Star Wind Pirates merchandise in your hands?" The Fourth Master's primordial spirit surged, sending a message laden with information pressing down on Lu Yi and his group. He was probing. However, as his mental fluctuations neared Lu Yi and the others, they vanished without a trace, stirring not the slightest ripple. The Fourth Master's pupils contracted violently, his body tense. He hadn't even noticed what had erased his mental fluctuations. Indeed, something was amiss. Upon hearing the fourth master's words, the red princess at his side changed color, staring at the fourth master with boundless anger. Donggong Mingyue shouted furiously, "What merchandise? You even dare to capture cultivators from the mortal realm as slaves? All of you pirates are indeed bastards." The true immortals and heavenly immortals of the Star Wind pirates standing beside him, though not as keenly perceptive as the fourth master, turned stony-faced upon hearing this. "Seeking death, you dare to spout such nonsense in front of our Star Wind pirates' fourth master. Since you've come to us willingly, you might as well all become our merchandise." Lu Yi raised an eyebrow and laughed. "Merchandise, huh?" With a sweeping gesture the next moment, a terrifying force surged, and all the Star Wind pirates, including the fourth master, felt the space around them change from the pliant texture of water to the unyielding solidity of ice. They were trapped in the ice, utterly unable to move. The complexions of the fourth master and the others changed drastically. The fourth master roared in fury, and his aura of immortal spirit Qi shone with a dull yellow radiance, flickering on and off as if a giant planet were expanding. A horrifying power began to dissipate, shaking the solidified space around him, straining to break free. The other Star Wind pirates were struggling too. However, they didn't have the formidable strength of the fourth master. Even giving their all, they couldn't budge the frozen space in the least. Only around the fourth master did the space seem to ripple, as if it were being shaken apart somewhat. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow and commented, "Not bad for a late-stage profound immortal, quite powerful." Even though Lu Yi hadn't used any immortal techniques, his mastery of the space law had reached perfection, on top of his terrifying foundation. Even without employing immortal techniques and relying solely on the law, his presence was inconceivable. At the very least, compared to true immortal, it was unimaginable. But the late-stage profound immortal fourth master, facing such a tactic, was clearly still struggling. Hearing Lu Yi's soft commendation, all the Star Wind pirates looked terrified, their gazes fixed on Lu Yi. They all understood that this was the doing of the young member of the human clan before them. But how could a mere true immortal second level, through his own power alone, immobilize 3 true immortals and more than 10 heavenly immortals, and even? The cluster of true immortals and heavenly immortals turned their gaze toward the fourth master, who was frantically struggling, the space around him warping, light and darkness chaotically intertwining. Even the fourth master was struggling with such difficulty. This was a late-stage profound immortal. What kind of monster was this? The fourth master, too, was filled with terror. Although he had sensed something was amiss, the degree of wrongness was beyond his imagination. He could feel that this human clan before him was merely using the power of law, not even applying any immortal techniques. Yet even so, in spite of his full effort, he could only barely escape such a constraint. He felt a chill run through his body, realizing he had encountered a being he couldn't contend with. And this entity was merely a true immortal. A mere true immortal second level was able to suppress him, a late-stage profound immortal, so effortlessly. Even the strongest prodigies of the sky-falling star domain couldn't possibly achieve this, could they? After all, the gap between each realm within the immortal realm was immense. Even the difference between the small realms was significant, let alone the division between the early, middle, and late stages within those realms, which broadened the gap even further. As for the gap between the great realms, it was not just a slight difference. It was like the difference between the clouds and mud. Even the famous geniuses within the sky-falling star domain who could contend with a true immortal peak at the second level were considered highly exaggerated and talents that could shake the star domain. As for those who could escape from a freshly advanced, profound, immortal-level powerhouse by relying on their own strength, they were astonishing. Such rare occurrences were almost unheard of in history. Yet the individual before them, with the strength of a true immortal second level, could suppress a late-stage profound immortal so easily. This, could it be the reincarnation of an immortal king or even an immortal emperor? "Ah!" the fourth master roared and bellowed, the space and light around him shattering as he burst forth with all his power and broke free from the constraint. This brought a glimmer of hope to the other pirates of the Star Wind, believing they might still be saved. Yet the next instant, their expression stiffened. The fourth master, having freed himself, didn't pause to think before pulling out a silver-gray stone talisman, which transformed into a streak of light and vanished on the spot. The Star Wind Pirates' eyes widened, their expressions blank. Their fourth master had just run away like that. He had abandoned them. Lu Yu was somewhat surprised that the fourth master had made such a decisive move. But Lu Yu's expression turned slightly peculiar. Attempting to escape using a space rune in front of him, was he not awake yet? Lu Yu reached out to grab, and his primordial spirit followed the still undisturbed spatial trail, as if crossing dozens of light years to see the fourth master at the far end. Chapter 674, 318, The Reincarnation of the Immortal Emperor II. Fourth Master was just about to return to the universe from the space between when Lu Yu's thoughts moved, and the spatial line made a loop, setting the endpoint at Fourth Master's original position. Originally, after the activation of the space rune, it was akin to space travel, moving from one point to another in a straight line. But after Lu Yu's modification, this space travel became circular, starting from one point, circling around the outside, and eventually returning to the starting point. Fourth Master, having used the space stone talisman amidst the twisting spatial lines, let out a sigh of relief in his mind. The space stone talisman was something he had obtained from a relic, and even the 3 other Star Wind Pirates leaders did not know about it. It was his trump card for saving his life, capable of transporting him to a region 50 light-years away once activated. Even if he were facing a demon who seemed like the reincarnation of an immortal emperor, even if that being's mastery of the space law was extremely profound, it wouldn't be possible to reach an area 50 light-years away in an instant, right? After all, that demon's cultivation base was obvious, and the amount of immortal spirit qi needed for space travel was not insignificant. Fourth Master was ready. As soon as he finished the space travel, he would conceal his aura and find any place to hide, even if it meant hiding for tens of thousands of years. For a genius like that, his time is the most precious. He surely wouldn't spend tens of thousands of years searching for a mere late-stage profound immortal like him, would he? As long as that demon left, he could emerge from hiding. While Fourth Master was pondering, he obviously did not notice that the spatial line seemed to have changed slightly. After all, Fourth Master had not mastered the space law. In fact, the space law is a very rare and mysterious law, and in the immortal realm, every cultivator who masters this law is a genius. Fourth Master was able to travel through space solely because of the space stone talisman, and naturally, he could not sense the changes in the spatial lines. Soon, the spatial line reached its end, and Fourth Master, seeing the brilliant stars, took a deep breath, planning to find a hiding place as swiftly as possible after detaching from the spatial line, lest that demon catch up to him by employing the space law he had mastered. A flurry of light and shadow, Fourth Master exited the spatial line, and then his expression froze. He saw the bewildered expressions of the Star Wind Pirates, and also the somewhat amused Lu Yu. Fourth Master's mind was filled with question marks, his face a picture of utter confusion. Even as a profound immortal, even after having experienced a great deal, he still couldn't react for a moment. How could this be possible? He had clearly activated the talisman. How could he possibly still be in the original place? No. Fourth Master thought of a possibility, feeling even colder. He widened his eyes in disbelief, looking at Lu Yu, his voice hoarse. You changed the space. I should have left. Lu Yu chuckled lightly. Although it's somewhat embarrassing to say it, my space law is indeed pretty strong. How is that possible? My talisman was left by an immortal monarch of the space series. That immortal monarch was not far from reaching law perfection of the space law. How could you possibly alter such space travel? Fourth Master roared incredulously, his voice trembling. Hearing this, Lu Yu glanced at the stone talisman in Fourth Master's hand, a little surprised. So it's a treasure left by an immortal monarch. It's a good item, no wonder it can travel dozens of light years. But my space law has already reached perfection. Fourth Master. He was shocked, staring at Lu Yu in disbelief. True immortal second level, space law perfection. Fourth Master's face, composed of grayish-white rocks, showed an extremely odd expression, momentarily unable to accept this reality. His eyes suddenly turned blood-red, gazing at Lu Yu as he let out an enraged bellow, with immortal spirit qi surging crazily. The next moment, an earthy yellow radiance twinkled around him, and reaching toward Lu Yu, he struck down. A few hundred kilometers large earthy yellow sphere condensed, like a planet, bearing down on Lu Yu. The vast and terrifying pressure turned Liu Ningxuang and the others pale. Even Red Butterfly's corner of her mouth bled slightly. But soon they felt the pressure disappear. Lu Yi stood in front of them, his fist clasped, upon which a crimson light shimmered. This was pure Qi blood power. To tell the truth, after absorbing the chaos divine crystal, Lu Yi had been eager to test the strength of his physical body and to see how powerful the World King Fist would be. Now this thing provided a perfect opportunity for an experiment. The blood-red Qi blood power turned into a flame burning on Lu Yi's hand. It looked unremarkable, completely incomparable in scale to the vast earthy yellow planet. But the terrifying pressure emanating from the fist made one's heart skip a beat. Lu Yi's expression was calm as he threw a punch. The next moment, the crimson Qi blood power exploded wildly, like a constant star-going supernova, the crimson flame surging forth. The entire starry sky was dyed a crimson red, and as the eye could see, there seemed to be no other color present. All the vacuum, all the planets, even the 3 constant stars not far away, all seemingly vanished. The crimson glow swept over the earthy yellow planet. The earthy yellow planet vanished like smoke, not even leaving any fragments behind. Only after the red flames had disappeared did everything return to normal. 4 masters stood there, dumbfounded, staring at where the planet had vanished, as if turned to stone. Some of the star wind pirates standing behind him were trembling uncontrollably. It wasn't that they wanted to tremble, but an instinctive reaction they couldn't control, even as immortals. This trembling was born out of fear. Lu Yi's expression remained calm as his gaze swept over 4 masters, who was still rooted to the spot, and the trembling pirates. He said with a slight smile, "All right, you have 2 choices. 1, release your divine souls to be enslaved by me, or 2, death. Make your choice." Lu Yi's words jolted everyone to their senses, and they looked at him with terror. Several people exchanged glances, then a cultivator at the true immortal level roared, "Enslave us! Impossible, I'd rather die." Lu Yi nodded slightly and said with a light chuckle, "Your wish is granted." Space law erupted, and that true immortal immediately burst into a cloud of blood mist, vanishing into the cold vacuum of space. The others instantly felt numb. Not a moment's hesitation. 4 masters came to his senses as well. His eyes, which were like black jade, flickered with earthen yellow luminescence, and he immediately knelt down in the vacuum. "My lord." The remaining 2 true immortals and the dozen or so heavenly immortals of the Star Wind Pirates also hastily knelt down in the vacuum. "My lord." Lu Yi's gaze swept over them, and then, as if remembering something, he slapped his forehead and said with a laugh, "I forgot to mention, heavenly immortals are too weak. I don't need them." Heavenly, immortal-level Star Wind Pirates. Their faces changed dramatically, and before they could say anything, the dozen heavenly immortal-level pirates turned into blood mist. 4 masters. The remaining 2 true immortals. 4 masters wore a stiff expression, and the 2 true immortals were shaking violently. "Open your divine soul seas." As if waking from a dream, the 3 hastened to open their divine soul seas, fearing that any delay would lead Lu Yi to turn them into blood mist as well. Lu Yi deployed the soul control seal, taking command over the 3, and after sensing the status of their submission, he nodded in satisfaction. It was a companion for the other true immortals of the Star Wind Pirates from before. Lu Yi's gaze then shifted to the distant heavenly boats. Around these vessels, array patterns flickered, clearly realizing something was amiss and attempting to flee. "You take care of them," Lu Yi instructed. 4 masters and the 2 true immortals quickly got to their feet. "Yes." The 3 immortals transformed into streaks of light, flying towards the heavenly boats. Soon, the array patterns surrounding the heavenly boats gradually dissipated. Lu Yi, taking Liu Ningxuang and the others with him, flew towards them. Upon entering the heavenly boat, they were met with bloodstains and corpses everywhere. 4 masters and the 2 true immortals stood at the entrance with utmost respect, welcoming Lu Yi and his group. "My lord, everything has been taken care of." Lu Yi nodded. "Are there any slaves from the Red Clan inside this heavenly boat? Have you captured any slaves recently?" Upon hearing this, the 3 reacted with shock, quickly glancing at the Red Princess while feeling extremely strange inside. They all assumed that the Red Princess had ingratiated herself with their lord, which was why he had brought her back and was causing them trouble. But they didn't dare harbor any resentment. No, the The batch that Big Master took away was all the slaves we had captured. Only then did Lu Yi nod with satisfaction. He turned to Red Butterfly. "Let's go, take us to see your homeworld." Red Butterfly had been silent all along, but seeing Lu Yi avenge her, she felt indescribably moved and her eyes reddened. In truth, if it weren't for Lu Yi, she would have already been a slave, facing a bleak future with no hope of returning to her homeworld, let alone seeking revenge. She nodded, "As you command, my lord." Chapter 675, 319, The Peculiar Red Star. Chapter 675-319, The Peculiar Red Star. Lu Yi and his companions followed Red Butterfly to Red Star. As they entered the atmosphere, Lu Yi immediately sensed an extraordinary high temperature. The temperature on this planet must be several hundred degrees Celsius, which would instantly turn any ordinary person to charcoal upon their appearance here. Of course, for Lu Yi and his companions, who were all at least tribulation-crossing practitioners, this was nothing special. This level of temperature merely made them feel a bit warm. Lu Yi scanned the area and noticed that most of the planet was covered in magma, with only a few areas where land was visible, and this land was red and appeared lifeless. If Lu Yi hadn't known this was Red Butterfly's home planet, no one would believe that such a planet could harbor life. Despite its harsh environment, Red Star wasn't too large, and under Red Butterfly's guidance, they quickly arrived in the northern hemisphere of the planet. They reached a vast area of the magma sea. In this region, the magma ebbed and flowed with the planet's rotation, like tidal waves, and the magma tides obscured the sky, spouting high temperatures that slightly twisted the space around them. "Master, our clan's territory is located beneath this Red Sea," Red Butterfly said to Lu Yi. "Please wait a moment, and I will contact my father." Lu Yi nodded. Red Butterfly stood above the red magma sea, where the high temperature made her originally pink skin much more vivid. Her red hair fluttered as if she had transformed into a sprite within the flames. Through his recent meditative cultivation, Lu Yi had also reached perfection in the fire law. He could keenly perceive unusual attributes. To his astonishment, he found that Red Butterfly's current state seemed to vaguely merge with the flame law, creating a peculiar sensation. This feeling, Lu Yi furrowed his brow, then realized what this sensation was. In such a state, Red Butterfly seemed faintly connected to the Tao origin. Indeed, Red Butterfly appeared to be subtly drawing upon the essence of the fire origin. Lu Yi was immediately shocked by this realization. This was the power of origin. Even the Yu family ancestor, an immortal venerable level powerhouse, could not draw upon the origin. And yet Red Butterfly, merely at the tribulation transcendence realm, could interact with the origin. Although this was just a very faint touch, and Red Butterfly herself seemed unaware of it. After absorbing the Chaos Divine Crystal, Lu Yi himself had also undergone evolution, and his eyes could see what others could not. Even the Tao patterns held no secrets to him, and he could naturally see the Tao origin as well, though he was temporarily unable to comprehend it. With his eyesight, he could naturally discern that Red Butterfly was indeed vaguely touching the fire origin. Lu Yi looked at Red Butterfly, who appeared like a sprite made of flames, and fell into thought. This was too strange. Shouldn't there be limits to how strong a race can be, no matter how powerful? How could she possibly interact with the fire origin at the tribulation transcendence realm? Lu Yi then considered that almost all members of the Red Clan were born with innate fire spirit bodies, and Red Butterfly was of the immortal body level. Was there an issue with the planet itself, or was there some problem with the Red Clan itself? Lu Yi was intrigued. He glanced around, his eyes shining with mysterious and chaotic light. Through his vision, the entire planet disassembled and reassembled. It turned into Tao patterns. All matter seemed like it didn't exist, like a thin mist. In his vision, the fire origin of the whole planet was surprisingly abundant. The entire planet seemed to repel other types of origin power, as if it could only accommodate the fire origin. Lu Yi was astonished. However, despite careful observation, he could not confirm why this was the case. Was it a naturally formed peculiar flame treasure land, or was it due to something else? Lu Yi could not be certain. However, under his increasingly sensitive perception, his instinct told him that he should not continue to delve deeper into this matter for now. Otherwise, there might be great danger. This was an insight and warning brought about by his immensely powerful soul, thanks to absorbing the chaos divine crystal. Lu Yi exhaled a breath of turbid air, the divine chaotic light in his eyes gradually fading, as he decided not to ponder further. While Lu Yi was observing the planet, Red Butterfly had finished communicating. Suddenly the magma sea surged violently, eventually parting to either side, revealing a pathway. At the bottom of the pathway was a very lavish palace complex made entirely of red crystals. At that moment, numerous Red Clan cultivators flew out from the palace complex, ascending towards them. Leading them was a good-looking middle-aged man with some resemblance to Red Butterfly. His face carried an air of authority, and his aura was potent, having reached the Tribulation Transcendence realm. For the Red Clan who practiced such primitive cultivation techniques, to reach the Tribulation Transcendence realm was indicative of exceptional talent. Lu Yi watched the middle-aged man, guessing that this must be Red Butterfly's father. Red Butterfly. The man, upon seeing Red Butterfly, hurried over with an expression of disbelief. Is it really you? Have you truly returned? Father, meeting her father, Red Butterfly's eyes turned red and she began to cry. Even with her composed nature, having been taken away as a slave had naturally terrified her. Now that she was back on her home planet, and in the presence of her father, the stress and fear that Red Butterfly had bottled up inside her came pouring out, and she could no longer control her emotions. Seeing this, the Red King looked somewhat guilty. It is your father's fault for not being able to rescue you. Chapter 676, 319, The Peculiar Red Star 2. Chapter 676-319, The Peculiar Red Star /2. Red Butterfly was, after all, remarkably composed. Her emotional breakdown lasted only a few breaths before she steadied her heart, showing a smile. She then said, Father, it's not your fault. Besides, haven't I returned now? It's all thanks to the master above. During the previous communication, Red Butterfly had clearly exchanged information about Lu Yi with the Red King. He turned his head toward Lu Yi, and a gentle look appeared on his dignified face as he respectfully bowed in the most significant gesture of the Red Clan, and said in a deep voice, Great and powerful one, as a father, I thank you for saving my daughter, and as a sovereign, I thank you for saving our Red Clan. Lu Yi smiled. There's no need for courtesy, Red King. Since Red Butterfly has already followed me, she naturally is my person. It was only right for me to stand up for her. Master the master's person. Red Butterfly's skin flushed slightly, her gaze shifting around. Liu Ningxuang and the others saw Red Butterfly's expression, exchanged a glance, and looked bewildered. Has this guy misunderstood something? Given Liu Ningxuang and the others' understanding of Lu Yi, his person and his person were completely different concepts. The Red King didn't notice Red Butterfly's expression. He continued, Even so, I must thank you. Come now and welcome to Red Star. Please enter our clan's land. Lu Yi nodded and followed the Red King and his entourage, walking along the parted magma sea toward the palace complex built of red crystals. As they entered the palace complex, the magma sea slowly closed, and outside the palace red light flowed, keeping the magma out. Inside this red palace, no magma infiltrated. The group entered the palace, and Lu Yi's heart stirred as he surveyed his surroundings. All these palaces were constructed from unique red crystals, and Lu Yi could sense a faint, almost imperceptible pressure. This pressure was extremely weak. Lu Yi glanced at Liu Ningxuang and the others and saw that they had no reaction. He understood that they probably felt nothing. His perceptual abilities were the strongest, and even he barely perceived a trace, let alone the others. I wonder if the residents of this place, the Red Clan, can sense it. Lu Yi fell into thought. Perhaps he could inquire about the origins of the Red Clan from Red Butterfly later. He always felt there was something extraordinary about the Red Clan. The group soon arrived at the central area in front of the palaces and entered the most magnificent hall. Inside the great hall, there was an entirely red statue sitting cross-legged. The Red King explained, This is our Red Clan's progenitor, the first of the Red Clan born within the magma sea. Lu Yi nodded slightly. Then the group seated themselves in the hall, and the Red King looked toward Lu Yi before speaking, Great and mighty one, I have heard from Red Butterfly about you saving her and imparting a cultivation method to her. Once again, I thank you deeply. The Red King bowed and then fell silent, seeming hesitant, but soon his expression cleared and he said, The purpose of your visit here is it to subjugate our Red Clan and have us follow you. Lu Yi smiled and nodded frankly. Your Red Clan has quite good talents in the fire Tao. I indeed have this in mind. The Red King gave a wry smile and said, if it hadn't been for you this time, we might have been corralled by those damned pirates, not to mention Red Butterfly being unable to return. Our Red Clan might have been sold as mere goods. Reality has proven that this starry sky is not a very safe cradle. Without strength, such situations can occur. Fourth Master and the two true immortals at the side heard these words and looked a bit embarrassed. Indeed, they were those damned pirates. Red Butterfly said you are a very kind and generous ruler and also a genius with extraordinary talent. To follow such a person as you is an honor for our Red Clan, the Red King said respectfully. If Lu Yi had come to the Red Star before the arrival of the Star Wind Pirates and wished for the Red Clan to follow him, the Red King certainly wouldn't have agreed so readily and decisively. But after the incident with the Star Wind Pirates, the Red King understood that in such a perilous universe, without strength or backing, they were like lambs awaiting slaughter. The only reason they hadn't already been preyed upon was simply that they hadn't been discovered before. And Red Butterfly, in her previous communication, had already spoken of Lu Yi's various identities and deeds. Following such a respected figure in the entire starry sky, someone with immense talent and strength, was not a bad thing for their Red Clan. Especially since this great figure had even casually given Red Butterfly an extremely precious cultivation method, indicating that he highly valued their Red Clan. At the very least, he valued Red Butterfly. With that in mind, the Red King naturally had no reason to hesitate. The Red King's frank and decisive attitude was somewhat unexpected to Lu Yi. He had thought it would require much more persuasion. Who would have expected it to be so easy? But of course easy was good. Lu Yi also disliked trouble. He said with a smile, since that's the case from now on, the Red Clan will be under my protection. You can choose to stay on Red Star, or you can choose to follow me and leave for the planet I reside on. The Red King hesitated for a moment before speaking. Those of us who are older tend to be homebodies, so we'll stay here. However, we do hope that you, our Lord, will take some of the younger members of the Red Clan with you, to allow them to see more of the world. That's naturally no problem, Lu Yi responded with a smile. This was equivalent to acquiring a large group of talents with innate fire spirit bodies. Taking them out would definitely be worthwhile. In fact, with the provision of some precious fire element immortal treasures, perhaps a group of talents with fire immortal bodies could be nurtured. Lu Yi paused and then stated, we will stay here for a few days, and I will have Red Butterfly teach you the cultivation technique she practices. The techniques of your clan are too primitive. With immortal scripture, you should be able to advance quickly, especially a few of you. It shouldn't take long before you can ascend. Lu Yi glanced at the Red King and the several silent elders of the Red Clan behind him. Their cultivation bases were at the late stage of tribulation crossing, or even at the peak. The reason they had not ascended was probably due to the limitations of their cultivation techniques. It was not just individuals with innate fire spirit bodies who would struggle. Even those with immortal bodies would find it exceedingly difficult to ascend with such cultivation methods. Upon hearing these words, the Red King and the elders behind him all brightened up, revealing expressions of surprise and delight. The Red King and the elders quickly stood up and bowed again. Thank you, my lord. They felt more assured than ever that following Lu Yi had been the right choice. Lu Yi waved his hand dismissively. Since you've decided to follow me, I naturally won't let you suffer a loss. By the way, before I leave, I will set up a defense array for Red Star. It will be able to conceal your planet and also withstand the attack of golden immortals at the early stage. That way, Red Star will be somewhat safer. The Red King and the others did not know what the early stage of the golden immortal realm was like, but the fourth master and two true immortals beside them were numb with shock. Holy shit! What did I just hear? Our Lord can set up an array that can withstand early-stage golden immortals. But our Lord is obviously just at the early stage of being a true immortal. What kind of genius is this? The fourth master increasingly believed that Lu Yi was a reincarnation of an immortal emperor. Other than being the reincarnation of an immortal emperor, he could not think of anyone else capable of achieving something like this. Thank you, my lord. Although the Red King didn't know what the strength of an early-stage golden immortal was, he could tell from the expressions of the few pirates that it was undoubtedly an extremely terrifying power indeed. The Red King and the elders of the Red Clan were filled with immense gratitude. Lu Yi gestured with his hand. All right, Now that you are reunited with your daughter, take some time to catch up. Yes, my lord. I will arrange accommodations for you first, said the Red King promptly. Then the Red King led Lu Yi and his group away from the palace hall and arranged accommodations for them within the palace. After that, the Red King took Red Butterfly with him and left. Liu Ningxuang and the others went to cultivate, while Lu Yi began inscribing the Great Array. The Red Clan had strong talents, and Lu Yi valued them highly. With proper nurturing, they could potentially become a formidable force in the future, so he intended to take extra care of them. Chapter 677, 320. During this time, Lu Yi's mastery of Array Tao had not flagged. With Tiananmen's planet defense array as a reference, it took him merely 2 weeks to complete the etching of the massive defense array. This defense array was the culmination of all his Array Tao enlightenment, capable of resisting an early-stage golden immortal level cultivator for a while. Below the level of a golden immortal, there was no chance of breaking through the defense. Afterward, Lu Yi took the palace at this location as the core and set up the Array I, fully expanding the Great Array. The Red King and the strong members of the Red Clan stood above the magma sea, watching the dense array patterns in the sky, feeling the vague but terrifying pressure coming down, their faces slightly pale. Lu Yi had never shown any significant power, not even a hint of his aura. Although they knew from Red Butterfly that Lu Yi was very powerful, they did not have a concrete concept of his strength. Now they had that concept. Facing just a trace of the aura from the Great Array, they felt as insignificant as ants. This power was beyond imagination. Next to them, the Fourth Master and the 2-star Wind Pirate True Immortals were even more shocked, feeling great astonishment in their hearts. Their cultivation base was far stronger than that of the strong members of the Red Clan. The strong members of the Red Clan simply realized that Lu Yi was extremely powerful, but they did not have as profound an understanding as the 3 from the Star Wind Pirates. The Fourth Master, as a powerful late-stage profound immortal, felt facing this great array like confronting an unbreakable mountain. As the array patterns of the Great Array gradually faded from view, Lu Yi lightly chuckled. All set, the Great Array is now in place. Thank you, my lord. The Red King and others came back to their senses and quickly said respectfully. Lu Yi waved his hand. With the Great Array in place, Red Star should not be in much danger anymore. I should go. Inform the youngsters who want to leave. The Red King and the others nodded repeatedly. Soon, about a dozen young cultivators of the Red Clan flew out from the palace complex and reached the sky. These young cultivators, both male and female, all had a cultivation base above the unification realm. In Lu Yi's eyes, one could see the traces of their lives. None of them were very old, the eldest being just over 10,000 years old. Managing to break through to the unification realm at such an age, with the cultivation techniques of the Red Clan, indicated that their talents were quite impressive. At this moment, these youngsters looked a bit restrained as they respectfully greeted Lu Yi. We've seen my lord. In this period, the Red King and the others had already conveyed their plans to them. They naturally understood that Lu Yi's status was extremely honorable, and that both his strength and talent were formidable. Leaving with Lu Yi, they could gain better development opportunities, and in the future, they might even become stronger than any in the history of the Red Clan. For this reason, the cluster of geniuses naturally had no objections. Seeing the nervous cultivators of the Red Clan, Lu Yi smiled gently. Don't be nervous, I don't bite. Red Butterfly, please take care of them. Yes, my lord, Red Butterfly nodded. After that, Lu Yi took out the Red Sun boat, and with curious looks from the Red Clan cultivators, he led everyone onto the heavenly boat and left Red Star. Once on the Red Sun boat, Red Butterfly arranged for the Red Clan's geniuses to rest separately. Meanwhile, Lu Yi sent the Fourth Master and the 2-star Wind Pirate robbers to the control room to keep an eye on the surrounding environment. Liu Ningxuang and the others went back to cultivation, and Lu Yi then notified Red Butterfly to take care of the Red Clan's geniuses and to visit his room once done. In Lu Yi's room, he sat on a chair, watching the pitch-black space outside the window, quietly waiting. Before long, there was a knock on the door. Lu Yi smiled, "Come in." Red Butterfly quickly entered, her expression somewhat anxious. "My lord, what did you want to see me about?" Red Butterfly had a little expectation in her heart. Why would my lord call her into his room alone? Could it be? As Red Butterfly imagined certain scenes, she became a bit nervous. "Sit down and we'll talk," Lu Yi said with a smile. Snapping back to reality, Red Butterfly nodded and quickly sat down next to him. Lu Yi slowly began, "Red Butterfly, can you tell me about the history of your Red Clan? How did your clan come into being?" Lu Yi was very concerned about the faint pressure he had felt on Red Star and wanted to understand the situation from Red Butterfly. Hearing this question, Red Butterfly was stunned, feeling a bit awkward. The Lord had called her here just to learn about the history of her Red Clan. She thought it was something else. Feeling a bit disappointed, Red Butterfly did not show it and quickly responded, "Of course, there's no problem. It is recorded in ancient texts that the ancestors of our Red Clan were born from the vast Red Sea. It is said to be the offspring of the 3 sons that once fell into the Red Sea. Born with great wisdom, they have thrived on Red Star to this day." Born from the Red Sea, Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. Could it be that this was a case of lava manifesting life? If it really was lava that had taken on life, Lu Yi wouldn't be surprised, considering the vast universe is filled with many alien races. It's not only lava, even rocks that have turned into living beings exist. What surprised Lu Yi was the subtle pressure he felt within those palaces. "So those palaces were also constructed by your ancestors?" he asked. "Yes, they are the treasures left for future generations by our ancestors," Red Butterfly nodded. "My lord, is there anything wrong with those palaces?" Red Butterfly was somewhat worried. Lu Yi shook his head. "No, nothing's wrong." He was contemplative, sensing that something didn't quite add up. After all, after so many years adapting to the law, using those primitive cultivation techniques to cultivate up to the Mahayana, and even the tribulation transcendence realm was already the limit. Chapter 678, 320, A Large Number of Jihu Demons 2. Chapter 678-320, A Large Number of Jihu Demons /2. But how could palaces left behind by cultivators of the Mahayana and tribulation transcendence realm make him feel an almost imperceptible sense of oppression? There must be some problem. Lu Yi pondered for a moment and then asked, "On Red Star, apart from your Red Clan, are there any other powerful beings? Or before your Red Clan came into being, were there any powerful beings?" Red Butterfly recalled for a moment and then shook her head. "The environment on Red Star is extremely harsh, and few beings can survive here. Our Red Clan is already the most powerful. As for before our Red Clan came into existence, Red Butterfly has never heard of other beings." Lu Yi felt somewhat helpless. It seemed questioning Red Butterfly wouldn't yield any useful information. He decided to take note of this matter and revisit Red Star when his cultivation base was stronger to thoroughly investigate the situation. This time, the almost imperceptible sense of oppression had caused his intuition to perceive danger, and he dared not investigate further. Was it because his strength was not enough? When he was stronger, would he still not be able to investigate? "All right, you should go rest too," said Lu Yi with a smile. Master, you have no other orders." Red Butterfly was taken aback. Just a bit of history was asked. Lu Yi looked at Red Butterfly. "No more orders, why? Is there something else?" "No, there's nothing." "Then Red Butterfly will take her leave." Red Butterfly left Lu Yi's room. Red Star was extremely far from the Zhenan battlefield, even with Lu Yi constantly using spatial traversal and passing through several star gates, consuming vast resources. It took a full year to get close to the Zhenan battlefield. As they approached Zhenan battlefield, the entire star region became somewhat gloomy and oppressive due to the Jihu battlefield. Lu Yi and his party, along with the 3 from the 4th Master, were all Immortal realm cultivators and knew about Jihu battlefield, so they didn't react much. But the cultivators from the Red Clan, who had never seen Jihu battlefield, felt the cold and gloomy atmosphere. It made them feel uncomfortable all over. Even Red Butterfly felt very uneasy. The talents of the Red Clan couldn't even steady their minds for cultivation, and all sought out their princess. "Your Highness, where is the Master taking us? I feel a very terrifying presence in the direction we are moving," they said. "Indeed, I can't even enter meditation and am completely unable to cultivate," another added. "Yes, if I continue to cultivate, I might go into cultivation deviation. The atmosphere ahead is too gloomy, as if something is watching me," another spoke nervously. Each one of the Red Clan's talents was a little anxious. Red Butterfly also did not know Lu Yi's destination. She thought for a while and then said, "Don't worry, I will ask the Master." Red Butterfly came to the front of Lu Yi's room and knocked on the door once again. "Come in." Upon entering the room and seeing Lu Yi, Red Butterfly's face showed concern. "Master, we have felt an extremely sinister and frightening presence, and my people seem unable to cultivate. I'm a bit worried." Lu Yi immediately understood. It must be the influence of the Jihu battlefield on them. Although the Jihu battlefield was sealed very tightly, with no Jihu Qi leaking out. But even without any Qi leaking, just the mere existence of the Jihu battlefield made the entire star region quite different, filled with a sinister atmosphere. For Immortal realm cultivators, it wasn't a big deal, but for Unification realm cultivators, it was still greatly influential. Lu Yi thought for a moment and then said, "The place I'm going to next is very dangerous, especially for those who haven't reached Immortal realm. In a while, I'll leave you on a nearby life planet and have Gubai and the other two stay to protect you. When we return, we'll pick you up and leave together." Gubai was the name of the fourth master of the Star Wind Pirates. His cultivation base at the late stage Profound Immortal was considered very strong in this region. As long as they didn't stir up trouble, there would certainly be no problem. Hearing this, Red Butterfly's complexion changed, and she looked nervously at Lu Yi. "Master, you're not going to abandon us, are you?" Lu Yi chuckled. "Of course not, don't overthink it." Red Butterfly breathed a sigh of relief, then said, "Can't Red Butterfly accompany you?" "You can't come, your cultivation base is too low." At those words, Red Butterfly felt slightly disappointed, but she also resolved to work harder at cultivation, to ascend as soon as possible, so she could potentially be of help to the master. "All right then, we'll wait for the master to return." Lu Yi nodded. There were several life planets in the region near Zhenan battlefield. After all, as a GU battlefield, many immortals would come to this place, be it for duty or training. Over time, several gathering places were formed. Lu Yi casually picked a planet and flew towards it. After landing on the planet, Lu Yi arranged for Red Butterfly and the others to settle down, and asked Gubai and the other two to stay and protect them. Then Lu Yi, Liu Ningxuang, and the other four boarded the Red Sun boat and left. Since they were already very close to Zhenan battlefield, it took merely 2 days for the Red Sun boat to arrive in front of the densely packed metal planets. "Second time here, and it hasn't been long," Donggong Mingyue mumbled, looking at the metal planets outside the window. "Hee, typical immortals come here once in 10,000 years. If it weren't for duty, few would come at all. Unlike us, who come again a few hundred years later," Jian Ruyu said with laughter. Chapter 679, 320 Numerous Jehu Demons 3. Chapter 679, -320, Numerous Jehu Demons /3. Liu Ningxuang smiled. "Generally, immortals are in great danger when facing Jehu demons, as there is indeed a significant gap in strength between us and them." "That's indeed the case, especially for Senior Brother. With Senior Brother's current strength, there shouldn't be too much danger in the Zhenan battlefield now, right?" Donggong Mingyue said with a smile. Mid their light-hearted conversation, they quickly arrived in front of a massive metal planet. The gateway to the Zhenan battlefield was located here. The entrance and exit were still guarded by the Star Realm Army, specifically the soldiers from the 6th Legion. The news of Lu Yi and his group's arrival had been known to them beforehand. Upon seeing Lu Yi and his group, they hurriedly paid their respects and welcomed them through the gate. The cultivators in line for inspection looked at this scene, their expressions odd. What status did these few people have to command such respect from the renowned Star Realm Army of Tianluo? If they hadn't heard the Star Realm Army addressing the cultivator in the lead as Mr. Lu, they would have even thought these individuals were direct descendants of the Yu family. But after Lu Yi and the others entered the Zhenan battlefield's garrison, they glanced at the somewhat familiar surroundings. Without spending much time looking around, they knew the way and went to register first, then left the garrison. After all, they were here for a trial. Of course, for the four including Liu Ningxuang, it was a trial, but for Lu Yi, it was like farming a dungeon for resources. This was because, during their last visit to the Zhenan battlefield, strange Jihu demons tried to open a Jihu channel, ultimately leading to a large number of Jihu demons at the Profound Immortal level being killed. Lu Yi did not know whether there were any other Jihu demons that had come into the Zhenan battlefield now. In fact, if it weren't for the excessive danger, he would have liked to go to other Jihu battlefields to check out the situation. But now, facing a golden immortal, even if Lu Yi fought with all his might, he was no match, and the aura of the Tao on him would probably draw significant attention from the Jihu demons. Just to be on the safe side, he still came to the Xianxia battlefield. Even if there were no Jiu demons at the profound immortal level, others wouldn't be far off. Anyhow, he only needed to obtain cultivation resources such as star marrow through tasks. Lu Yi and his party of 5 moved deeper into the Xianxia battlefield. In the regions close to the garrison, they encountered only Jiu demons at the heavenly immortal level, which Lu Yi dispatched with the wave of a hand. Of course, he also didn't forget to issue tasks. As they ventured deeper, the number of Jiu demons at the true immortal level started to increase. Liu Ningxuang and the others each found a Jiu demon, just entering the true immortal level, and began a fierce battle. Liu Ningxuang and her group were not far from reaching the status of true immortals themselves, and needed a great battle to stimulate them, shatter their bottlenecks, and break through to the great realm. Facing Jiu demons just entering the true immortal level, despite their exceptional talent and strong foundations, the gap between great realms made the battle somewhat strenuous for them. Lu Yi kept a watchful eye on them to prevent any accidents. However, unless there was a fatal danger, Lu Yi chose not to intervene, even if they were covered in wounds. After all, this was also a form of trial for them. Continuing deeper, Lu Yi gradually sensed that something seemed off. Not only Lu Yi, but Liu Ningxuang and her group also felt something strange. What's going on? There were so many Jiu demons before, how come they've suddenly all disappeared? Jian Ruyu held her long sword, looking around. The other 3 also wore puzzled expressions. Just then, Lu Yi's expression shifted slightly as he looked around with a grave face. He sensed a great number of presences rapidly closing in, all of them Jiu demons, thousands in number, including several profound immortal level Jiu demons. Chapter 680, 321 Huge Harvest. Chapter 680-321 Huge Harvest. Lu Yi furrowed his brows. So many Jiu demons were surrounding them from all directions that it seemed they were specifically targeting them. Lu Yi thought of a possibility, and his expression became solemn. Could it possibly be aimed at him? Lu Yi, what's wrong? Yunzai noticed the change in Lu Yi's expression and asked. Liu Ningxuang and the other 2 also looked over. Lu Yi shook his head. We're surrounded. While Lu Yi was speaking, Liu Ningxuang and the others also felt a large number of presences quickly approaching. Their expressions changed, somewhat in disbelief. So many? How could there be so many Jiu demons coming? Liu Ningxuang frowned, a hint of astonishment on her cold, pretty face. Lu Yi shook his head again. They might be targeting me. Hearing this, Liu Ningxuang and the others were startled, then all seemed to realize something. Is it the Taoist energy on you? Jian Ruyu spoke. Abnormal junior brother, are you saying they can sense the Taoist energy on you and specifically came for you? Lu Yi nodded. I'm afraid that's the case. Last time that strange Jiu demon noticed the Taoist energy on me, it paid great attention then, and now it seems it's more than just paying attention. After all, the last time Lu Yi appeared on the Xianxia battlefield, there was no situation of being surrounded by Jiu demons. It was probably that strange Jiu demon who did something, only Lu Yi was not aware of it. The expressions of Liu Ningxuang and the others changed, becoming grave. So many Jiu demons, what do we do? Their cultivation base was only at the heavenly immortal realm, and even facing a Jiu demon that had just entered the true immortal level was difficult, let alone this time, when there were thousands of Jiu demons. So many Jiu demons, even if they were all at the heavenly immortal level, they would be unable to resist. Not to mention, among these, there were many powerful Jiu demons at the true immortal level, and even some at the profound immortal level. Lu Yi gave a slight smile. No worries, I am here. Though there were thousands of Jiu demons, Lu Yi's own strength was powerful enough. There were only a few Jiu demons at the profound immortal level, which could hardly pose a great threat to him. He wouldn't even need to use the secret technique of the Yin-Yang Tao seal. Soon, a wave of presences rapidly approached. A large number of Jiu demons flew over from the dark distance. These Jiu demons had varied appearances, most of which were quite distorted, with human and beast forms. They had dense Jiu Qi swirling around their bodies, constantly emitting sinister auras. Lu Yi let out a heavy breath, his expression growing colder, and he said, "Keep yourselves safe." Liu Ningxuang and the others also nodded slightly, their expressions serious. They had thick power of laws swirling around them. In addition to the laws they had previously used themselves, there were also strands of yin-yang law flowing. Moreover, there were yin-yang Tao patterns emerging on their foreheads. This was one of the uses of the great Tao yin-yang seal. Although it couldn't compare to being integrated into Luya's body, the vibration of the yin-yang Tao seal among the four of them could amplify their own strength like an army array, which was also a very strong base. At this moment, the four's strength had reached the true immortal realm. Unified, their power was also extraordinary. Seeing the four like this made Luya feel more relieved. With their current state, plus various immortal artifacts and other trump cards given by Luya, they could hold on for a while amidst the encirclement of these Jiu demons. This was a rare experience for them. Indeed, Luya was not too worried about their safety. After all, even if they died, Luya could resurrect them with the all things revival skill. Luya no longer focused on the four. His gaze swept around and soon noticed that there were as many as 8 Jiu demons at the profound immortal level rapidly approaching. And there were enough of true immortals to count in the hundreds. The rest were all at the heavenly immortal level. Luya's spiritual energy surged around him, and he rose into the air, leaving Liu Ningxuang and the others. Surely as Luya had expected, seeing him rise into the air, a group of powerful Jiu demons immediately changed direction and flew towards him. These Jiu demons' target was him. Luya was certain that these Jiu demons were attracted by the Taoist energy on him. His expression was fierce, and spiritual energy surged around him. He moved forward to meet the group of Jiu demons. The Jiu demons were enveloped in black mist, emitting harsh, ear-piercing noises, producing unknown, piercing, sharp sounds, overlapping like countless people wailing, screaming, and whispering in his ears. Even Luya frowned, feeling slightly uncomfortable. If it was just a whisper from one Jiu demon, it wouldn't affect him much, but there were too many Jiu demons here. However, it was just a slight discomfort, nothing else for Luya. He shouted lowly, his body disappearing from its place. Using the sky tunneling technique, he instantly appeared beside a Jiu demon at the mid-profound immortal level. In his hand, the long sword flashed a piercingly bright sword Dao light, and 9 pale sword shadows with endless killing intense sword, slashing towards that Jiu demon. The mid-profound immortal Jiu demon reacted, turning around, with black mist surging. Countless pitch-black arms reached out from the mist, blocking in front of the 9 elements killing sword. However, the 9 elements killing sword was driven by Luya's perfection-level sword Tao laws and was a golden immortal skill. If not considered a trump card, it already represented Luya's full force. Chapter 681, 321, Huge Harvest 2. Chapter 680, 1-321, Huge Harvest /2. The terrifying shadow of the sword was indestructible. Even the wall of arms formed from the swirling black fog melted away under such sword intent. 9 sword shadows pierced through the Jiu demon's body in an instant. In just a moment, the killing sword exploded, grinding the Jiu demon into ash. Meanwhile, countless streams of Jiu power surged, and dark streaks of light shot towards Luya. With a calm expression, Luya vanished from his spot and reappeared beside another late-stage, profound, immortal Jiu demon. On his left hand, he wore dark golden boxing gloves, a high-grade immortal device, the shattered boxing gloves. He clenched his fist and swung fiercely at the Jiu demon. Surges of red Qi blood power and power law combined to unleash the World King Fist, which turned into a blood-colored pillar of light that instantly devoured the Jiu demon. Like this, Luya, relying on his sky tunneling technique to appear and disappear without a trace, and his own formidable golden immortal skill and terrifying destructive power, could almost always kill a profound immortal realm Jiu demon in one hit, if not, then 2. In just a short amount of time, Luya had killed all the Jiu demons at the profound immortal level. Their battle even caused many true immortal level Jiu demon to suffer severe injuries. After killing these Jiu demons, Luya turned his attention to the others. There were too many other Jiu demons, thousands of them, and even Luya needed some time to clear them out. During their battle, the sounds of explosions were incessant. The sky and land in the Jiu battlefield were even more solid than the outer void, as an immortal venerable power had reinforced the space. If the Jiu demons could easily destroy this world, then there would be no point to the Zhenin battlefield's existence. Even so, the commotion from Luya's battle with the thousands of Jiu demons still caused numerous craters on the ground, and a terrifying spiritual energy storm appeared in the sky. The exaggerated aftermath spread in all directions, with even extremely distant areas feeling the impact. The immortals in other areas who were dealing with Jiu demons, upon sensing this exaggerated disturbance, were all dumbstruck, with some fleeing immediately, while others, out of curiosity, flew towards the commotion. Before long, Lu Yi had killed all the true immortal level Jiu demons, and most of the heavenly immortal level ones. Even he had spent a significant amount of spiritual energy. However, he didn't even need to use spiritual energy to fight the heavenly immortal level Jiu demons. Merely with the strength of his body, enhanced by the chaos divine crystal, Lu Yi could shatter a heavenly immortal level Jiu demon with a single punch. In the sky, Lu Yi was like a god or demon, each punch shattering one or even several Jiu demons, every sword swing slaying a swath of them. His fearsome aura shook the space, like a lion entering a flock of sheep. In the distant sky, figures emerged, all of them immortals serving their duty in the Xianxia battlefield, as well as powerful cultivators seeking trials here. The duty-bound immortals were one thing, considered geniuses among mortal realm cultivators, but only average amongst immortals. But the cultivators who came here for trials, which one wasn't a powerful genius? At the moment, everyone watching the terrifying commotion from afar was dumbfounded, with faces of shock. "Gulpoo, who is that person?" someone asked with a dry swallow. The others looked at each other and shook their heads. I don't know, such terrifying strength, this is too strong. Yes, I've been here for a while, and this young man, with a cultivation base of only true immortal second level, couldn't even be stopped by those true immortal level Jiu demons with a single move. Since I arrived, he has already killed 200 to 300 Jiu demons of the true immortal realm. 200 to 300 true immortal level Jiu demons. The crowd was immensely shocked. That's not like killing chickens. Even if it were chickens with hundreds of them, you'd still expend a lot of effort chopping them down. For an ordinary true immortal cultivator, facing a single Jiu demon of the same level requires extreme caution, and they may not even win. After all, Jiu Qi has a strange disruptive effect, enough to affect the combat power of cultivators of the same level. A regular cultivator of the same level may not win against a Jiu demon. If surrounded by 10 Jiu demons of the same level, one needn't think too much. It's time to write a last will, but Jiu demons wouldn't give you the chance to write one. Your departure wouldn't be peaceful. Yet here, this person of mere true immortal second level has slaughtered 200 to 300 true immortal level demons in a short time. Even if all those true immortal level demons were of the first layer, that's absurdly incredible. For a moment everyone fell silent, feeling their throats go dry. Who is this young man? With such combat prowess, how can he remain unknown? The crowd wondered. Lu Yi, after all, was one to keep to himself, usually cultivating in Tiananmen, and the last time he had visited the Xianxia battlefield was hundreds of years ago. The cultivators who had come for their obligatory service by then had already left. There were naturally very few who knew Lu Yi. In the end, no one could guess Lu Yi's identity. However, in that moment, Lu Yi's figure was etched into their minds, likely unforgettable for the rest of their lives. Joking aside, dealing with thousands of Jiu demons alone, killing hundreds of the same or even higher level, such a person would likely be unheard of even in the Yu family, right? Chapter 682, 321 Huge Gains 3. Chapter 682, minus 321, Huge Gains /3. While they were conversing, Lu Yi had already slain the majority of the Jiu demons, and only then did they realize that there were others on the battlefield besides Lu Yi. There were 4 female cultivators, each at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm, yet at this moment they were able to contend against more than a dozen true immortal realm Jiu demons. This left them once again bewildered. 4 at the peak of heavenly immortal, actually able to fight against more than 10 true immortal realm Jiu demons. Damn, since when were there so many geniuses? Many cultivators couldn't understand and began to doubt their own lives. However, some were indifferent. Since they can be with that young master, they must be his Taoist couple or someone close to him. Considering the young master's strength, it's understandable if his close ones are geniuses. With this explanation, everyone nodded slightly, indicating understanding. Before long, Lu Yi had slain all but the Jiu demons who were fiercely battling Liu Ningxuang and the other 3. He exhaled lightly, finding that a third of his spiritual energy had been used up. This made Lu Yi feel somewhat heavy-hearted. He was still lacking a bit, having only slain a few thousand Jiu demons, already consuming so much spiritual energy. This was also because he had deliberately used more physical strength when facing the heavenly immortal level Jiu demons. Among these demons, only 8 were at the profound immortal level, a few hundred were true immortals, and the rest were of the heavenly immortal level. With such an array, the amount he consumed was still too much. He was still too weak. Although his attacks were strong, his area of effect attacks were lacking. If he had a powerful area attack golden immortal skill, the expenditure should have been less. Uya thought to himself that next time he visited the Yu family, he should learn a golden immortal skill with a wide attack range. He sighed, wondering how many Jiu demons he could withstand if Tiananmen's Jiu channel were to open in the future. At most, perhaps only a few 10,000s. He would need to diligently cultivate. Lu Yi made up his mind quietly. And soon enough, he became cheerful again. After slaughtering so many Jiu demons this time, his panel was filled with completed tasks, earning him over 1,000,000 star marrow. Not only that, but there were also rewards for increased understanding of immortal techniques, immortal scriptures, array Tao, alchemy Dao, and other comprehensions. There were also plenty of rewards consisting of immortal-level heavenly treasures, immortal scriptures, immortal techniques, and more. One could say he had made a fortune this time. Such a multitude of resources should be enough for his progression to the profound immortal level. They were sufficient for his use. While checking his task rewards, Lu Yi also paid attention to Liu Ningxuang and the others. It must be said, after employing the yin-yang secret skill, the Four's strength was formidable. With the cultivation base at the peak of heavenly immortal, they actually managed to fend off more than 10 Jiu demons of the true immortal early stage. This surprised Lu Yi as well. It seemed that aside from his diligent cultivation, his senior sister and the others hadn't been slacking off either. This strength compared to before was much stronger. However, under the siege of these Jiu demons, Liu Ningxuang and the others also sustained considerable injuries, their complexions slightly pallid. The battle lasted a long time before Liu Ningxuang and the others ultimately slain all those Jiu demons. And the price was that all 4 of them suffered severe injuries, their auras becoming extremely weak. Lu Yi flew over, waved his hand, and the All Things Revival skill operated, merging green light into their bodies, and he smiled, "Senior sister, I didn't expect your strength to have improved so much, to become this strong." All 4 rolled their eyes simultaneously, giving Lu Yi a speechless look. This guy, he was mocking them, right? He, with his own power, had slain thousands of Jiu demons, and he still called them strong. All 4 were very displeased. They exchanged looks, feeling that there was still a considerable gap and that they must continue striving. Lu Yi didn't notice the exchange of glances among the 4, only saying with a smile, "It seems like you must be quite tired. Let's head back to the camp to rest first, and then we can come out again to see." Lu Yi didn't plan to leave directly. He wanted to continue delving deeper into the Zhenan battlefield to see how those Jiu demons had discovered him. Chapter 683, 322, Light of the Jiu Battlefield. Chapter 683-322, Light of the Jiu Battlefield. Lu Yi's gaze swept over the surroundings. Naturally, he also noticed that cultivators nearby were drawn over by the commotion. He didn't care, leading Liu Ningxuang and the 4 of them as they disappeared from the spot. As the group vanished, the cultivators around were even more astounded, discussing among themselves about who could be capable of killing so many Jiu demons with a true, immortal cultivation base. With such strength, why was there no reputation throughout the Tianluo Star domain? After returning to their base, Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang's group rested for a few days, recovered, and then delved deeper into the Jiu battlefield. This time their venture went deeper than the previous few days. All the Jiu demons that Lu Yi encountered were slain. Unlike the previous days, they were not besieged by thousands of Jiu demons. However, as they approached the ritual area they had entered during their last venture into the Zhenan battlefield, the surrounding Jiu demons again vanished. Lu Yi and his group became alert. "Just like the other days, we're not about to be surrounded again, are we?" Liu Ningxuang frowned. "Let them surround us. With the freak junior brother here, those Jiu demons can't really harm us." Jian Ruyu was eager to try. The fierce battle a few days ago was very challenging for them. However, their gains were substantial as well. At this moment, Jian Ryu already felt the breakthrough bottleneck to true immortal. If a few more such encounters occurred, perhaps it wouldn't be long before she could break through to the true immortal realm. Donggong Mingyue was also eager to try, while Yunzai had a calm expression, her ethereal eyes scanning the surroundings. She was even more composed compared to Donggong Mingyue and Jian Ryu. Sister Ryu, we were attacked by that many Jiu demons a few days ago. If there really are stronger Jiu demons plotting behind this, their strength will definitely be stronger this time. It's better to be cautious, she said. Liu Ningxuang also slightly nodded. Yunzai is right. Listening to their conversation, Lu Yi led them deeper. Soon they arrived at a desolate mountain range. In the pitch-dark mountains, patches of black mist rose, the desolate mountains filled with dark rocks, void of any vitality. In fact, in the Jiu battlefield, besides cultivators and Jiu demons, no living spirits could possibly arise. After all, this area had already been completely enveloped by the Jiu Qi, filled everywhere with an exceptionally eerie atmosphere. At that moment, in the entire mountain range, all mountain peaks were surging with dense black mists, like demons screaming and dead spirits wailing. These eerie sounds pervaded the entire area, causing Lu Yi's mind to feel somewhat foggy. Such intense Jiu Qi. He couldn't help but frown. If even Lu Yi felt uncomfortable, let alone Liu Ningxuang and the others. Their faces turned slightly pale, furrowing their brows, with immortal spirit qi swirling around them as they began to use the power of laws to isolate the Jiu Qi. Their expressions also turned more solemn. This time is indeed different from the past few days. Even the eager Jian Ryu and Donggong Mingyue furrowed their brows. Just then, Lu Yi's expression became solemn. He felt numerous profound immortal qi signatures continuously emerging from within the black mist, and apart from the profound immortals, there was also a large number of true immortal-level qi signatures rapidly appearing. The qi signatures Lu Yi felt were already in the thousands, and the number was still increasing. More and more qi signatures emerged, causing even Lu Yi to grow serious. Be careful, the Jiu demons this time are much stronger than last time, he cautioned. Upon hearing Lu Yi's warning, the faces of Liu Ningxuang's group changed. They all knew Lu Yi was extremely powerful, with far superior sensory abilities than theirs. Clearly, Lu Yi had perceived something. This made the four of them somewhat nervous. How strong? Asked Liu Ningxuang. Lu Yi cracked a smile, his eyes flashing sharply. The profound immortal-level qi I'm sensing right now is already in the hundreds. All four were stunned. The atmosphere fell silent. Donggong Mingyue's face stiffened slightly, her voice hoarse. Hundreds of profound immortal-level Jiu demons. Could it be that all of the profound immortal-level Jiu demons in the entire Zhenin battlefield have come? The other three were also bewildered. It's known that the Zhenin battlefield is only so large, and every so often, the Star Realm army comes here to clear out a batch of powerful Jiu demons. The last purge was just a few centuries ago, and it hadn't been long. Gathering hundreds of profound immortal-level Jiu demons might already be the limit of the entire Zhenin battlefield. Are they all targeting you, the freak junior brother? Jian Ryu was somewhat numb, muttering, why do you attract these monsters so much? Lu Yi smiled, perhaps I'm just popular. All four rolled their eyes. At this time, they really weren't in the mood for such a cold joke. Feeling the qi signatures rapidly approaching, Lu Yi's expression grew heavier. All right, let's use the secret technique. Otherwise, it's too dangerous for you to stay outside. This time, there are even Jiu demons of the heavenly immortal level. Liu Ningxuang and the others fully understood how strong these Jiu demons were, all nodding with somber expressions. Using the yin-yang Tao seal, they transformed into glowing lights, merging into an incredibly mysterious Tao pattern, which integrated into the spot between Lu Yi's eyebrows. The next moment, Lu Yi's cultivation base surged, breaking through from the true immortal second level, advancing one level after another, directly reaching the true immortal 8th layer. After Lu Yi advanced to the true immortal realm, he had further developed the yin-yang Tao seal secret technique. Now, the yin-yang Tao seal secret technique was much stronger than when he was at the heavenly immortal level. Chapter 684-322, The Light of Jiu Battlefield 2. Chapter 684-322, The Light of Jiu Battlefield /2. Feeling the surge of immortal spirit qi within his body and his own terrifying power, Lu Yi clenched his fist, exhaled softly, and whispered, We fight side by side. At his brow, mysterious Tao patterns shimmered with yin and yang light, as if responding to Lu Yi. The next moment, Lu Yi's aura once again skyrocketed, reaching the level of true immortal peak. He had used the Immortal Ascension technique. The extreme-level Immortal Ascension technique was incredibly powerful, elevating Lu Yi, who had already reached the true Immortal 8th layer, by a significant margin. Lu Yi's aura surged, and the terrifying spiritual energy storm spread in all directions, filling the air with Taoist energy like the rush of tides, dispersing the surrounding black fog. In the gaps between the black fog, figures rapidly approached, encircling Lu Yi. Lu Yi swept his gaze over the area, and everywhere, whether in the sky or among the mountains, were Jiyu demons of various forms, all exuding a similar eerie sensation. Among them, there were over 100 profound immortal-level Jiyu demons, and the rest were all true immortal-level Jiyu demons. Altogether, there were around 3,000 to 4,000 of them. Such a multitude of profound and true immortal-level powerhouses merged together, the Jiyu Qi like the collapse of mountains and tsunamis, the surrounding black fog growing denser and creating a stark contrast with the Tao tide around Lu Yi. Just then, Lu Yi's expression subtly shifted as he looked in a certain direction beside him. There, a humanoid Jiyu demon was enveloped in thick streams of Jiyu Qi, which seemed to transform into tendrils, flailing in all directions with fierce and terrifying intent. Lu Yi instinctively sensed that there was something unusual about the aura of this Jiyu demon, very similar to the one he had previously encountered. His face turned icy cold. Indeed, that creature had not given up and had come back, this time seemingly targeting him specifically. The Jiyu demon, sensing Lu Yi's gaze, had its cold and eerie eyes flicker with a sinister gleam, and eerily whispered, "Worthy of being the child of the Tao, you've actually sensed my presence." Lu Yi's expression turned frosty. "It is you after all. You dared to come back after last time's death." "Die?" The Jiyu demon laughed, its piercing and shrill laughter echoing throughout the void. Had a heavenly immortal-level cultivator been present, the mere sound of that laugh might have driven them into a frenzied state. This Jiyu demon was too terrifying. Immortal and imperishable, how could I possibly die? Last time, I merely lost an insignificant strand of power. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi's face hardened and he quietly asked, "Immortal and imperishable, you must be one of the stronger Jiyu demons, right? You have come specifically for me." Now with the chance, Lu Yi tried to gauge if he could extract some useful information. After all, even the immortal venerable level Yu family ancestor had very limited knowledge about Jiyu's land. Previously, there were powerful individuals who had teamed up to travel through the Jiyu channel and never returned. One could only imagine how perilous the other end of the Jiyu channel was. It was impossible to receive any news from that side. But this Jiyu demon was capable of communication, and perhaps Lu Yi could learn something valuable. The figure of the Jiyu demon, accompanied by raucous noise that seemed like the screams of countless wronged souls, spoke, "My identity. Heh, you need not know, but indeed I am here for you." As he said this, he glanced at the Tao tide swirling around Lu Yi, took a deep breath as if intoxicated. Such rich Taoist energy to be wastefully bestowed upon a mere insect like you. Your Taoist energy, I want it all. Lu Yi's face turned cold as he regarded the Jiyu demon. He had intended to ask some more questions, but the Jiyu demon did not afford Lu Yi such an opportunity. It let out a strange chant, and in the next instant, all the Jiyu demons unleashed the horrifying Jiyu Qi, turning it into radiant light and charged towards Lu Yi. Seeing that further communication was impossible, Lu Yi clicked his tongue as the immortal spirit Qi surged around his body and the mighty power of laws circulated, immediately launching an attack. Even a few days ago, without using the Yin-Yang Tao Seal secret skill or the Immortal Ascension technique, and relying solely on his own strength, Lu Yi was able to easily kill more than a dozen profound immortals, virtually all in a single strike. Not to mention the current Lu Yi, whose cultivation base had reached the true immortal peak. Perfect-level laws combined with the application of extreme-level golden immortal skill. A vast and dazzling radiance ceased to flicker. There were moves like the World King Fist, ablaze with the fire of vitality, the 9 elements killing sword, pale and filled with murderous intent, and the Yin-Yang immortal map, formed by the revolving Yin and Yang Qi around his body. Add to that his use of the sky tunneling technique, rendering his form nearly unrestricted. Luya was like a wolf amongst sheep. Each strike could kill one or even several profound, immortal-level Jiu demons. The terrible spiritual energy storm exploded like a constant star, spreading in all directions, devouring everything around it. With such overwhelming strength displayed, even that motionless Jiu demon appeared startled. After all, it had seen Luyi before. At that time, Luyi's strength was merely at the heavenly immortal level, with laws far from being as potent as they were now. Nor could his immortal technique compare to the present. In such a short period of time, this child of the Tao had advanced to such an extent. Even as a Jiu demon, it was truly astonished. Worthy indeed of someone favored by the Tao. Narrowing its eyes, it promptly turned into a beam of light, joining the fray. It understood that with Luyi showcasing such power, relying solely on these Jiu demons was utterly insufficient to kill him. Chapter 685, 322, The Light of the Jiu Battlefield 3. Chapter 685-322, The Light of the Jiu Battlefield /3. Though the Jiu demon's cultivation base was only at the peak of profound immortal, the aura it displayed was exceedingly powerful, even likely reaching the golden immortal realm. Luyi immediately felt a dreadful threat, his pupils involuntarily constricting as he cautiously watched the approaching Jiu demon. The next moment, Jiu Qi surged around the body of the Jiu demon, accompanied by bizarre shrieks, dense noises, and whispers filling Luyi's mind. Luyi frowned, and the next instant, the Jiu Qi seemed to materialize behind him like a sinister black hole, attempting to engulf him. Luyi activated the sky tunneling technique, his expression slightly changing as he sensed the stagnation of space. Clearly, this Jiu demon was capable of sealing space. However, Luyi's mastery of the space law had reached the perfection realm, and coupled with the extreme-level sky tunneling technique, though the space was sealed, it couldn't be completely locked down. Even so, Luyi was still unable to immediately enter the space to avoid the eerie black hole. His expression changed, and he immediately pulled out a round shield flashing with a blazing white light. This round shield, akin to the sun, emitted dazzling light that gradually evaporated the surrounding Jiu Qi. Acquired spirit treasure. The weird voice of the Jiu demon resounded, amid layers of noise, even with a tone of astonishment. Even the Jiu demon had not anticipated that a mere mortal world immortal of true immortal level would possess an acquired spirit treasure. And it was a mid-grade acquired spirit treasure at that. This might not be as simple as being favored by the Tao. The deep, eerie eyes of the Jiu demon sparkled as it stared fixedly at Luyi, its eyes full of resignation. To wield an acquired spirit treasure at this realm, this true immortal level cultivator was practically the embodiment of the Tao itself. Luyi, of course, had no knowledge of what the Jiu demon was thinking, and would not care even if he knew. This round shield was the mid-grade postnatal spirit treasure Eternal Light Shield, a reward from a prior task, and Luyi's most powerful trump card. By using this Eternal Light Shield, Luyi had already prepared himself for a desperate battle. After all, Luyi himself had not expected to encounter this Jiu demon on the Zhenin battlefield, let alone its formidable strength. He could only resort to using the mid-grade acquired spirit treasure in a desperate fight. If that were still inadequate, his only option would be to flee first. Without any hesitation, as he pulled out the Eternal Light Shield, the spiritual energy within him, which had reached the true immortal peak, was depleting at a rapid pace. This was an acquired spirit treasure. The energy required for its use was naturally extremely excessive. Fortunately, Luyi had another top-grade acquired spirit treasure, the Small World Pearl. Within this Small World Pearl was a vast amount of immortal spirit qi that Luyi had been storing over the time, now finally coming into use. Luyi's expression turned cold as he fully activated the Eternal Light Shield. Suddenly, the Eternal Light Shield shone brightly like the sun, releasing a brilliant white light. Wherever it passed, the dark fog dispersed and the mountains below melted, the Jiu demon melting like wax and eventually turning to powder. The powerful and strange Jiu demon roared repeatedly, desperately defending, but even it could not withstand the terrifying power of the mid-grade acquired spirit treasure. Within moments, cracks appeared all over its body, eventually dissipating into wisps of light mist and vanishing. "Wretch, you cannot escape," it let out a resentful howl, ultimately disappearing. A blazing white column of light shot into the sky, akin to a supernova explosion, bathing the entire Zhenin battlefield in light. Inside the Zhenin battlefield, all cultivators watched in shock towards the direction of the white pillar of light, stunned into silence. Chapter 686, 323, Stargate Prototype. Chapter 686-323, Stargate Prototype. What happened over there? Such a terrifying aura. This might have reached the golden immortal level, right? Has some big figure come to our Zhenin battlefield? With such a huge commotion, is it a battle with a high-level Jiu demon? The crowd was tremendously shocked, with discussions all around. The military leader within the stationed area of the Star Realm Army was extremely solemn, leading his team as they flew towards the direction of the light. The disturbance was too significant. They had to understand the situation. If any abnormalities occurred on the Zhenin battlefield that significantly impacted it, allowing the Jiu demons to break out of the battlefield and into the real universe, it would be a huge disaster for the entire universe. The light gradually faded, and the white column in the sky also disappeared. The eternal light shield above Lu Yi transformed into a streak of light, merging into his body. He glanced around. The entire mountain range had been leveled by that last encounter, the ground resembling molten glass, sparkling brightly. All nearby Jiu demons, including that powerful and strange one, had vanished. This was the power of a mid-grade postnatal spirit treasure. When Lu Yi was at the Yu family, he had learned about immortal treasures, and many immortal monarch-level cultivators could not obtain postnatal spirit treasures, let alone mid-grade ones. It was imaginable how precious and powerful this was. Lu Yi, sure there was no danger, relaxed. He let out a breath of stale air, his face pale, his breath somewhat weak. Even though he couldn't unleash the full power of the mid-grade postnatal spirit treasure, that attempt had almost depleted all his spiritual energy. Even the immortal spirit Qi and the small world pearl had been largely consumed. At that moment, the yin-yang Tao seal on Lu Yi's forehead flashed, turning into 4 beams of light that took the forms of Liu Ningxuang and her companions. The 4 women also looked pale, their breaths weak and panting heavily. They had used a secret technique to merge their strength with Lu Yi's, so naturally they had expended as much as Lu Yi had. Their expressions were extremely shocked. Donggong Mingyue exclaimed in astonishment, "Senior brother, what level of treasure was that just now? How could it be so powerful?" Being part of the secret technique, they naturally had first-hand experience of the treasure's formidable power. Such a powerful treasure made even thinking back on it somewhat unnerving for them. "It's an acquired spirit treasure," Lu Yi said with a smile. "Acquired spirit treasure." The 4 women all widened their eyes, flabbergasted. Having spent some time in the Yu family, Liu Ningxuang and her group were not unfamiliar with such items, and they clearly understood what an acquired spirit treasure represented. Such treasures were rare even in the Yu family, and all of them were held by the higher-ups. They didn't expect that Lu Yi would possess one as well. The 4 were unclear where Lu Yi's acquired spirit treasure had come from. But since Lu Yi didn't elaborate, they naturally did not inquire further. After all, Lu Yi had always obtained various treasures too frequently, although he always stated they were obtained by chance. But how could so many coincidences exist? This clearly indicated that Lu Yi had some special way to acquire these treasures. Perhaps it was due to Lu Yi's connection with the Tao that he had acquired so many treasures. With such a powerful treasure, no wonder it has such formidable power, Liu Ningxuang said softly as she scanned the surroundings. The other 3 nodded in agreement. Lu Yi laughed and said, "Those Jiu demons were probably the advanced ones accumulated over the past few hundred years. Having killed them all just now, it's unlikely there will be many powerful Jiu demons around for a while. It's a pity, we were hoping to fight a few more battles," Donggong Mingyue somewhat dissatisfied. Lu Yi chuckled. "Even though there probably are no more profound immortal-level Jiu demons, we should still be able to find some true immortal-level ones. We can stay here and continue our training." All 4 happily nodded. As they talked and rested, some of the immortal spirit Qi inside Lu Yi began to restore, and he led Liu Ningxuang and the others towards the direction of their camp. However, not long into their flight, Lu Yi sensed several presences rapidly approaching them, all true immortals and some even familiar. Lu Yi frowned and looked towards the direction from where the presences were emanating. Liu Ningxuang and her group also perceived these presences. "Are they immortals?" Yunzai blinked. The aura of Immortal realm cultivators was entirely different from that of Jiu demons, easily distinguishable. Yes, they must have been attracted by the earlier commotion, and these presences, some seem familiar, probably the Star Realm army, Lu Yi nodded. Should we go over and see? Lu Yi smiled. They've already noticed our presence, there's no need for us to go over. As they spoke, those several presences were already flying towards them. In the sky, several teams of the Star Realm army with solemn expressions flew towards the region where the light column appeared. Their hearts were heavy. After all, until now, Zhenin battlefield had never exhibited such a phenomenon. The earlier light column had already been of golden immortal level strength, yet the gateway at Zhenin battlefield only allowed profound immortal level Jiu demons to appear. Why then did a golden immortal level aura suddenly manifest? They were somewhat anxious, fearing that Zhenin battlefield might be undergoing an unexpected change. The Jiu channel might be widening, and more powerful Jiu demons could appear on the battlefield. The atmosphere was tense. One of the Star Realm army cultivators spoke up. Captain, a few hundred years ago, it was rumored our military leader had thwarted an odd ritual by the Jiu demons. That ritual was apparently intended to widen the Jiu channel. Chapter 687, 323 Stargate Prototype 2. Chapter 687-323 Stargate Prototype /2. Another Star Realm army member also had a serious expression. Yes, Captain, could it be that the ritual at that time wasn't completely prevented? Has the Jiu channel already been widened now? The other Star Realm army members looked at each other, silent for a moment. One of the Star Realm army captains frowned and said, "What kind of person is our military leader? Since the military leader said that everything is fine now, then it must be fine. It's probably not a problem with the last ritual. Then what is going on? We'll know once we go and see." Just then, a Star Realm army member suddenly thought of something, his face changing color. This is bad. Young Master Lu had left the garrison and went deep into the Zhenin battlefield. Upon hearing this, the faces of the other Star Realm army members froze, and their expressions dramatically changed. Several captains turned to look at the Star Realm army member who had spoken, their eyes reddening. One of the captains barked out in anger, "What did you say? Young Master Lu is deep within the Zhenin battlefield." "Yes, this morning I was on duty at the city gate, and I personally saw young Master Lu leave," the Star Realm army cultivator replied, his complexion also somewhat pale. The atmosphere grew tense, as people exchanged glances with unpleasant expressions on their faces. They were well aware of how esteemed Lu Yi's status was in the Yu family. Consider that for Lu Yi, the military leader had even planned to construct a stargate in the Tiananmen star system, which would cost countless resources. This was said to be for better protecting Lu Yi's safety. One could imagine how important Lu Yi was. If anything happened to Lu Yi while they were on guard, they would probably be inescapable from a punishment worse than death. Thinking about this, their expressions grew even more unsightly. One of the Star Realm army captains let out a sigh, smiling bitterly. "Let's hope that young Master Lu didn't head in that direction." The others nodded as well. At that moment, they suddenly sensed several auras flying over from the direction of the light pillar. This alerted everyone, sending a jolt through them as they became vigilant. But quickly, they realized that these auras were somewhat familiar. "It seems to be young Master Lu's aura," said a Star Realm army member who had encountered Lu Yi, his eyes lighting up as he exclaimed happily. The others also showed expressions of surprise. "Let's go and see if young Master Lu is all right." They all instantly transformed into streaks of light, flying toward the direction of Lu Yi's aura. It wasn't long before the two groups met. Seeing that Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang were unharmed, the Star Realm army members all breathed a sigh of relief. "Young Master Lu, you are safe. That's wonderful," several Star Realm army captains said joyfully. Lu Yi, seeing their intense excitement, was stunned for a moment. His expression became somewhat strange. "Why would you think something happened to me? We heard from Xiao Yuan that you had gone deep into the Zhenin battlefield, and now such a huge commotion has occurred. We were afraid that we might not have been able to protect you," they explained. Lu Yi came to a realization. He smiled, "I'm fine." At this point, a Star Realm army captain thought of something and widened his eyes. "Young Master Lu, did you come from the direction of that disturbance?" The others also realized what he meant, and all turned to look at Lu Yi. Lu Yi smiled. Yes, I came from over there. The Star Realm army members exchanged glances before one captain asked, Does young Master Lu know what happened in that direction? Lu Yi smiled again. You mean the disturbance just now? It was nothing much. Quite a few Jehu demons attacked me, and I used my trump card to kill those Jehu demons. The Star Realm army members, upon hearing this, were stunned, their minds filled with question marks. There was silence as they looked at each other, a captain opening his mouth with a weird expression. The commotion just now was caused by young Master Lu. Lu Yi nodded. They were all dumbstruck. The disturbance just now had the power of a golden immortal level, and yet, what about young Master Lu? He was merely a true immortal. How could someone with a true immortal level cultivation base cause destruction of a golden immortal level? What kind of trump card was this? The Star Realm army members were quite experienced and worldly, but now they were all utterly baffled, unable to understand. Seeing the multitude of Star Realm army in silence, Lu Yi said with a smile, If there's nothing else, I'll be heading back. Oh, young Master Lu, please do as you wish. The Star Realm army snapped back to their senses. Lu Yi nodded and left with Liu Ningxuang and the other three. Watching the backs of Lu Yi and his party as they left, a group of Star Realm army cultivators exchanged glances before heading toward the direction of the earlier commotion. Before long, they reached the area of disturbance. Seeing the crystalline ground, the mountains that seemed to have melted, and the still pulsating aura of brilliance, all the Star Realm soldiers fell silent. They felt a dryness in their throats. Just how many Jehu demons besieged young Master Lu to make him use such an exaggerated trump card? Indeed, the resilience of the Zhenan battlefield's mountains is such that even golden immortals would struggle to shatter them, yet they ended up like this. It's too exaggerated. The numerous Star Realm soldiers discussed animatedly before dispersing to investigate, eventually confirming no Jehu demons were left behind. Moreover, they did not encounter any Jehu demons along their way. Though they found this odd at first, recalling what Lu Yi had said about being besieged by Jehu demons, plus seeing the aftermath, put their minds at ease. With such activity, no matter how many Jehu demons came, that's how many would die, right? After returning to their base, Lu Yi and his companions rested for a few days until Liu Ningxuang and the others had recovered. Then Lu Yi took Liu Ningxuang and the other three back into the Zhenan battlefield, allowing them to seek out true immortal-level Jehu demons for intense battle training. After several battles, all four women gained significant insights. Afterward, Lu Yi led the four out of the Zhenan battlefield, picked up Red Butterfly and the rest, and then headed back to Tiananmen. By the time they returned to Tiananmen, quite some time had passed. At this moment in the vacuum outside of Tiananmen, numerous heavenly boats floated. Next to the heavenly boats, the Stargate had already taken on a rough outline. These were all teams that had come to build the Stargate. Lu Yi glanced at them but didn't pay much attention. After all, building a Stargate would take hundreds of years. It was still early days before this gate would be operational. After returning to Tiananmen, Lu Yi went straight back to White Cloud Immortal Sect. Red Butterfly led the talented newcomers from the Red Clan off the Red Sun boat, leaving them to be arranged by Master Wu Qingfeng. When he heard they all owned innate fire spirit bodies, Master Wu Qingfeng was elated. Such bodies were treasures. Even encountering one was an event that might not happen in 10,000 years, yet everyone here possessed one. No wonder our White Cloud Immortal Sect is getting stronger and stronger. Overjoyed, Master Wu Qingfeng left with a group of individuals from the Red Clan. Meanwhile, Lu Yi and his companions returned to Ling Luo Peak. Just back at his cave mansion, Lu Yi was about to engage in dual cultivation with Liu Ningxuang and the other three when he lifted Liu Ningxuang in his arms, only to hear his master's voice from outside the cave mansion. You rascal, where have you all been these days? Liu Ningxuang's cool, beautiful face flushed red as she quickly struggled out of Lu Yi's embrace. Though they were long married, it was one thing to be intimate in front of Donggong Ming Yue and the two others, but quite another in front of Ling Luo Peak Master since she was Liu Ningxuang's master, undoubtedly making it embarrassing. Not just Liu Ningxuang, Jian Ruyu and the others also felt some embarrassment. Lu Yi scratched his head and exited the cave mansion, only to see Ling Luo Peak Master standing outside with her arms crossed. Lu Yi gave a wry laugh. "Master, why have you come?" Ling Luo Peak Master rolled her eyes and said, "It's all because of you, isn't it? Leaving without even notifying your master. Have you grown too confident? You used to inform your master." Seeing Ling Luo Peak Master's displeasure, Lu Yi coughed awkwardly and said, "Master, you're wronging me here. I just thought you were meditating in seclusion. I just went to the Zhenin battlefield for some training, nothing important, so I didn't inform you." Went to the Zhenin battlefield. Ling Luo Peak Master raised her eyebrows. Upon emerging from seclusion and discovering Lu Yi absent, she was somewhat anxious. Now that she sensed Lu Yi's return, she naturally came over to check on him right away. She hadn't expected that he would have gone for training on the Zhenin battlefield. Seeing that Lu Yi was unharmed, Ling Luo Peak Master's worry dissipated. She snorted, "In the future, if you have to leave for any reason, whether your master is in seclusion or not, you must inform your master." Lu Yi smiled, "Understood, thank you for your concern, master." Ling Luo Peak Master rolled her eyes again, glanced at Liu Ningxuang and the women inside the cave mansion, and her mouth twitched slightly. "I'm going back to cultivate." With that, she disappeared on the spot. Lu Yi hadn't even had the time to activate the Great Array, so it was natural that Ling Luo Peak Master heard the sounds inside the cave mansion. Now seeing the group, she felt as if ants were crawling all over her, uncomfortable all over. Chapter 688-324, The Key to the Immortal King Realm. Chapter 688-324, The Key to the Immortal King Realm. After spending some tender time with Liu Ningxuang and the other three, Lu Yi headed to the cultivation room to begin collecting his task rewards. He had completed a considerable number of tasks to kill Jihu demons at the Zhenin battlefield, each of which awarded star marrow in varying quantities. Lu Yi collected all of them, totaling millions of star marrow, resources that would probably require mining several star systems to acquire. Fortunately, Lu Yi's interspatial ring, the Green Ring, was an immortal artifact without spatial limitations. Otherwise, he might not have been able to store so much star marrow. Beyond star marrow, there were also various rewards for leveling up immortal techniques and immortal scriptures, improvements in laws, as well as for array Tao, alchemy Tao, and other Tao understandings. Additionally, there were also some rewards in immortal artifacts, immortal scriptures, and immortal techniques. For Lu Yi, immortal scriptures served merely as references that could help him integrate and comprehend his own Tao, yin-yang immortal scripture. However, this was merely the icing on the cake, since Lu Yi had already acquired numerous immortal scriptures from the Yu family, not missing the few he had just received. As for immortal techniques, it was much the same story. However, for killing the leading Jihu demon, he was rewarded with a golden immortal skill, which was something Lu Yi could use at his current stage. This golden immortal skill was named Profound Sunstorm, a skill of the fire Tao that upon cultivation could unleash a storm of flames with the explosive might of a star, extraordinarily powerful. Lu Yi immediately set out to learn this golden immortal skill. For the current Lu Yi, what he lacked was exactly this kind of large-scale offensive immortal technique, and since his comprehension of fire law had also reached its limit, cultivating the profound sun storm to perfection would allow him to maximize its power. Beyond that, what astonished Lu Yi was that killing the leading Jihu demon actually rewarded him with 5 strands of Taoist energy. Taoist energy was extremely precious, and in all his years of cultivation and completing various tasks, Lu Yi had only been awarded such a thing when breaking through great realms. Lu Yi had never expected for a regular task to reward Taoist energy. This was totally beyond his expectations. Given the preciousness of Taoist energy, Lu Yi was momentarily hesitant, unsure of how to handle it. After all, he certainly didn't need it himself. Having absorbed the Tao treasure, a strand of Taoist energy didn't hold much significance for him. But for other cultivators, this strand of Taoist energy was extremely crucial. One should know, an immortal venerable breaking through to immortal king required Tao comprehension, and this strand of Taoist energy could be the key to their breakthrough. Absorbing this strand could, perhaps, allow an immortal venerable to genuinely comprehend the Tao and step into the gateway of becoming an immortal king. It could be said that each strand of Taoist energy carried the potential to create an immortal king. Of course, if one strand was not enough, several more might suffice. Lu Yi guessed that 5 strands of Taoist energy should at least guarantee that an immortal venerable could be elevated to immortal king level. If other cultivators knew that Lu Yi possessed such a precious resource, even immortal venerables would likely go insane with desire. If given to the Yu family ancestor, it wouldn't take long for him to break through to the immortal king. Yet Lu Yi hesitated. After all, he wasn't sure if the reward of Taoist energy was due to luck or something else. If there were no more rewards of Taoist energy in the future, Lu Yi would be more inclined to give it to his senior sister and the others. After all, although the Yu family ancestor had been extremely good to him, relatively speaking, his own Taoist couple was definitely more important. After much deliberation, Lu Yi finally decided to store the Taoist energy for the time being and plan for its use later. Lu Yi collected all the task rewards, took stock of them, and then continued his cultivation to digest his recent gains. With ample resources, there was no need for Lu Yi to venture out. In the following time, he cultivated continuously at Ling Luo Peak. Every day was either spent in dual cultivation, or in the comprehension of various Taos, laws, or in the studying of immortal scriptures and immortal techniques. In his leisure, Lu Yi would drink with former companions, go out for leisure with Liu Ningxuang and the other 3 women, or visit home to spend time with his father and mother, as a way to relax. Of course, Lu Yi would still give teachings once every few decades, as a boon to the beings of Tiananmen Star. Under Lu Yi's sustained teachings, the immortal spirit Qi of Tiananmen Star became increasingly dense, and the level of the immortal star continued to rise. After spending more than 70 years, Lu Yi broke through to the true immortal 3rd layer. The bottleneck from the true immortal 3rd layer to the 4th layer was considered the threshold between the early stages and the middle stages of a true immortal. But for Lu Yi, this bottleneck simply didn't exist. It took 120 years for Lu Yi to successfully break through to the true immortal 4th layer. During this time, Liu Ningxuang and the other 3 ladies had advanced to the perfection of the heavenly immortal realm and had begun seclusion to break through the true immortal bottleneck. So Lu Yi had less chance for dual cultivation, and his cultivation pace slowed down somewhat. However, after 100 years of closed-door cultivation, Liu Ningxuang and the others successively broke through the bottleneck and became true immortals. Though their cultivation speed was somewhat slower compared to Lu Yi's, due to his continuous resource investment over the years, their pace was a bit faster than that of ordinary geniuses from the Yu family. Of course, their innate immortal body talents also played no small part. After their breakthroughs to true immortal, while their strength may not have seemed significant to Lu Yi, the improvement brought by the Yin-Yang Tao Seal secret skill was enough to greatly increase Lu Yi's ultimate combat power. Having broken through, Donggong Mingyue was quite proud and clamored to have a duel with Lu Yi. She ended up pinned down by just one of Lu Yi's hands on her head, unable to move a muscle, which left her running back to her cave mansion feeling frustrated and aggrieved. Chapter 689, 324, Key to the Immortal King Realm 2. Chapter 689-324, Key to the Immortal King Realm /2. Previously eager to try, Jian Ruyu, upon seeing this scene, didn't bring up the matter of sparring with Lu Yi anymore. Liu Ningxuang and Yunzai had absolutely no intention of sparring with Lu Yi, unlike Jian Ruyu and Donggong Mingyue. Jian Ruyu was inherently combative, and Donggong Mingyue was simply prone to arrogance. And carelessly, he even forgot who he was, behaving exceedingly arrogantly. But another 150 years had passed, and Lu Yi was in seclusion, concentrating on his cultivation. Suddenly, a presence arrived at the entrance of Lu Yi's cave mansion. Lu Yi slowly opened his eyes, his pupils shimmering with a hint of primordial chaos. He disappeared from his spot, leaving the cave mansion. Outside the cave mansion, Jiang Fan, Bai Yulong, and Tai Man approached together and arrived at the entrance of Lu Yi's cave mansion. Little Star, who was still in cultivation, opened his eyes and glanced at the 3 people. Bai Yulong quickly said, "Greetings, Lord Little Star." Previously, when Jiang Fan and the others came to visit Lu Yi, Little Star, being unfamiliar with them, often bullied them, causing them to suffer greatly. After all, Little Star was now a true immortal, while Jiang Fan and the others were still in the mortal realm, making it easy for him to do as he pleased. This caused the trio to feel somewhat nervous upon seeing Little Star, but fortunately, they became more familiar with him later on, and Little Star ceased bullying them. However, upon seeing Little Star, Bai Yulong still instinctively shivered, greeting him hastily. Jiang Fan and Tai Man also looked at Little Star with some trepidation and bowed their hands, saying, "Greetings, Lord Little Star." Little Star glanced at the three people, and then quickly closed his eyes again, ignoring them. Just then Luya suddenly appeared, startling Jiang Fan and the others. Bai Yulong dejectedly said, "Junior brother Lu, every time you appear it's like a ghost, scaring someone to death." Luya smiled and said, "Actually, there was a spatial fluctuation, but brother Bai Yulong, your perception is too weak to feel it." Bai Yulong's mouth twitched, doubting his life. "Junior brother Lu, you're the famous Lu Immortal, a legendary figure at the true immortal level. What do I have to sense spatial fluctuations?" Lu Yi rolled his eyes. "Senior brother Bai, stop teasing me. Just concentrate on your cultivation. Once you break through to the immortal realm, you'll be able to perceive them." He looked at the trio, and over the days, Lu Yi had naturally taken good care of them. Previously, many heavenly materials and earthly treasures awarded for tasks had enhanced the trio's capabilities to the level of an immortal body, increasing their cultivation speed considerably. Now, all three had already broken through to the tribulation transcendence realm, and their ascension was probably only a few hundred years away. Lu Yu was very satisfied with this. He asked, "Brothers, what brings you here?" Jiang Fan smiled slightly and said, "Junior brother, it's like this. Brother Ao Tian ascended just a few years ago and has just emerged from solidifying his realm. He plans to hold an ascension ceremony, and he has sent us an invitation to celebrate." Upon hearing this, Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. "He has ascended already. His cultivation speed is quite good." Tai Man grinned and said, "Isn't it all thanks to you, junior brother Lu Yi? Without your resources, brother Ao Tian probably wouldn't have even reached the Mahayana stage by now, let alone ascend." In fact, it was due to Lu Yi's help that they all had such formidable cultivation bases now. Otherwise, it would be a different story for the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, Tei Saint Sun, and Thunder Sound Saintess and others with inherently strong talents, and supported by an immortal sect with their bright futures. But Jiang Fan and the others had a harder time initially. Previously, the White Cloud sect was merely a small sect at the divinity transformation realm, with Jiang Fan's maximum potential being just an acquired spiritual body. With their talents and backgrounds, without unexpected luck, reaching the cave void realm would have been a stroke of huge luck, let alone now where their innate capabilities had transformed into immortal bodies, and they had already transcended tribulation. In fact, within the entire White Cloud immortal sect now, there were quite a few cultivators at the tribulation transcendence realm, and even Elder Ming with the highest cultivation was nearing perfect tribulation crossing, not far from ascension. All this was due to Lu Yi. Jiang Fan and the others kept Lu Yi's kindness deep in their hearts. Lu Yi gave a resigned smile. "I've grown tired of these words, but since brother Ao Tian has ascended indeed, it's reason for celebration. When is the gathering? We might as well go together." In fact, Lu Yi naturally understood the gratitude of Jiang Fan and the others. With one man ascending and bringing his followers along, since he had such resources that he couldn't use himself, it was natural for him to have the excess to help those close to him. To put it bluntly, the resources needed to help a cultivator from the mortal realm break through to ascension weren't even as much as what he consumed in a day of cultivation, so it really wasn't a big deal for him. In fact, due to the Jiu channel on Tiananmen Star itself, Lu Yi had intended to train strong individuals to prepare for the eventual opening of Tiananmen's Jiu channel. Since he was going to train people anyway, it was definitely better to train those he was close to rather than strangers. Jiang Fan smiled. "The time is in 1 month. The Heavenly Dragon Holy Land has produced another immortal, and ancestor Long Yuan and the entire Heavenly Dragon Holy Land are quite thrilled. They invited Dao friends, and it is said to be a grand event. Hey, if junior brother Lu Yu go, then the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land will gain face," Bai Yulong chuckled. After all, Lu Yu's status was exceedingly prestigious. If he were to personally go to the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land and attend the ascension ceremony of the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, it would indeed be an honor for the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land. Jiang Fan smiled and said, "Brother Ao Tian also said that if junior brother Lu Yu aren't busy, you are always welcome to come. Gathering some friends, exchanging insights, and drinking some tea would be quite wonderful." Lu Yu thought for a moment and said with a smile, "I'll go in a few days then." Jiang Fan and the others nodded, not saying much more. "Since that's the case, we'll go ahead then," Jiang Fan smiled. After that, the three of them bid farewell and left Ling Luo Peak. Lu Yi watched them leave, thought for a moment, and headed towards Liu Ningxuang's cave mansion, junior sister. Liu Ningxuang's cave mansion opened swiftly, revealing Liu Ningxuang, her clear, cold, exceptionally beautiful face wearing a hint of a smile. Junior brother, what's the matter? Brother Ao Tian has just ascended and is hosting an ascension ceremony, inviting us to participate. Do you want to go? Lu Yi asked. Liu Ningxuang frowned slightly and shook her head. I won't go. I've just made a breakthrough to the true immortal realm and have quite a few insights that need seclusion. Lu Yi nodded slightly, not insisting, and then he thought of something and smiled. By the way, since you've also broken through, should we host a celebration ceremony for you? After all, Liu Ningxuang had been at the true immortal realm for quite some time now, but he hadn't heard about any celebration ceremony being planned for her. There had been a celebration, indeed. Donggong Mingyue and Jian Ruyu had strongly requested Lu Yi to make them a variety of delicious immortal delicacies. Together with the Ling Luo Peak Master, Yu Yuanwu, and some elders from the White Cloud Immortal sect, they held a gathering that resembled a family banquet, without much pomp. After the gathering ended, Lu Yi also cooked privately for the four people, marking another unique celebration. Lu Yi pondered a bit, thinking it still worthwhile to ask, just in case junior sister also wanted a grand celebration ceremony. Liu Ningxuang shook her head and laughed softly. What's there to celebrate? Speaking, she looked at Lu Yi, her cool eyes harboring a trace of deep emotion. Having stayed by your side for so long, reaching the true immortal realm doesn't feel like something worth celebrating. Well, all right then. If junior brother has nothing else, then I'll go into seclusion first, she said. All right, I'll go ask junior sisters then, he responded. Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang said their farewells, and he then went to find Donggong Mingyue and the others. However, it seemed none of them were planning to go. They had all recently broken through to the true immortal level and needed to go into seclusion. Regretfully, Lu Yi eventually went alone. His master naturally needed no mention. He definitely wouldn't want to go. On the contrary, having been hanging out with Lu Yi recently, Yu Yuanwu came to know the heavenly dragon Saint Sun and others. Although there was a substantial gap in both cultivation level and status, due to Lu Yi's presence, Yu Yuanwu's relations with them were quite good, and fellowship had grown between them over time. Upon hearing about attending the ascension ceremony, Yu Yuanwu, having cultivated for so long and feeling stifled, promptly said he wanted to go together. Thus, in the end, it was only Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu who went together to the ascension ceremony. Chapter 690-325, Seeing Nuke Again. Chapter 690-325, Seeing Nuke Again. 1 month later, Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu left the White Cloud Immortal sect and headed to the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land. Now, the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land was also in Qingzhou, very close to the White Cloud Immortal sect. In fact, ever since the Tiananmen star turned into an immortal star, the immortal trees and various other immortal treasures within the White Cloud sect had gradually matured, and the concentration of spiritual energy in Qingzhou had significantly increased. Consequently, all the major immortal sect holy lands of the entire Tiananmen region had relocated to Qingzhou. Even though Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu were flying leisurely, they quickly arrived in the area where the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land was located. The area of the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land was a massive ancient city within which streams of dragon qi flowed, transforming into true dragon illusions that encircled the ancient city. Every so often, the sound of a dragon's roar faintly emerged from within the city. This was the new sect headquarters constructed by the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land in the past 1,000 years. The ascension of the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun this time was a major event. Large numbers of cultivators, some riding flying boats, others piloting controlling artifacts, and others taming beasts, arrived at Heavenly Dragon City. At the gate and in the sky of Heavenly Dragon City, quite a few cultivators floated, receiving the numerous arriving cultivators. These were all law enforcers of the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land. Their strength was also considered strong within the Holy Land. The weakest among them were at the Cave Void Realm, and each team was led by a great power at the Unification Realm. As Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu approached, a team of cultivators from Heavenly Dragon Holy Land noticed the two men. Upon recognizing it was Lu Yi, the leading great power's eyes widened, and he hurriedly came over respectfully with the law enforcers saying, "Mr. Lu, Young Master Yu, the two of you have arrived. Since Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu often gathered with people like the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, and sometimes met up at the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land, the law enforcers naturally recognized Lu Yi as well. Lu Yi responded with a slight smile. Brother Ao Tian is holding an ascension ceremony. Of course, I had to come. The Great Power quickly responded respectfully. Mr. Lu, please come inside. The Saint Sun is in the city. He will definitely be very happy to see you. Lu Yi nodded, and, accompanied by Yu Yuanwu, flew towards the palace of the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun within the city. Meanwhile, the Great Power already loudly announced, welcoming Mr. Lu, young Master Yu into Heavenly Dragon City to attend the Ascension ceremony. Upon hearing this voice, the cultivators who also came for the Ascension ceremony all narrowed their pupils and looked in the direction of Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu, whispering among themselves. I didn't expect him to come as well. I heard he's on very good terms with the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, so his presence is not a surprise. The one beside him is that big shot from the Yu family, right? Yes, indeed, Tusk. The Heavenly Dragon Holy Land is really making a spectacle. The Saint Sun has ascended, and they've managed to have these two celebrities attend to celebrate, truly grand. Many cultivators felt immense envy. Who's saying otherwise? I heard the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun was able to ascend so quickly, all thanks to him. Everyone knows that, but we're in Heavenly Dragon City now, better keep those comments to ourselves. Alas, not everyone is born equal, eh? To know him is to climb the ladder to heaven. In the midst of the envious and jealous exclamations, Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu had already entered. The palace of the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun was named Aotian Hall. Yes, named after Long Yashin himself. Every time Lu Yi saw the name of this palace, he found himself holding back a laugh. At this moment inside Aotian Hall, within a garden filled with rare and exotic plants, the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, the Tei Saint Sun, the Thunder Sound Saintess, Feng Bumming, and other talented individuals from Tiananmen Star of the same generation as Lu Yi were all present. People conversed over drinks and food. After all, they all had good relationships, and they had arrived at this place before the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun's ascension. The current Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun was vibrant, his arrogant face brimming with smiles as he frequently toasted his fellow Taoists. Ha ha ha, everyone enjoy yourselves. Luck was on my side for ascending a step ahead. It's quite embarrassing. Tei Saint Sun snorted coldly, drinking his wine in silence. Seeing this, the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun laughed heartily. Oh, seems like someone is not convinced. What is it? My ascension made you feel the gap. The Tei Saint Sun scoffed. Long Yashin, what's there to be arrogant about? You just ascended a step earlier than me, that's all. I'll be ascending very soon too. If it weren't for this ascension ceremony you're holding, I might have ascended by now. Get real, you. The Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun glanced sideways at the Tei Saint Sun. The Tei Saint Sun's face turned cold, his aura fluctuating. Lin Ji, you wouldn't happen to want to challenge me, would you? Should I tie one hand behind my back? The Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun said with a full smile. After ascension and before were completely different concepts. The Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun well knew that, with Lin Jiyu's current state, it probably wouldn't take long for him to ascend as well. But before he ascended, what harm was there in testing him a bit? As the two argued, others continued enjoying their food and drinks, accustomed to it by now. After all, the two were always like this, and only when Lu Yi was present would they somewhat restrain themselves. Just then the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun's expression suddenly changed, and he stood up. Noticing the smile on the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun's face, Lei Tianian raised an eyebrow. Brother Long, what is it? Ha ha ha, Brother Lu is here, I'm going to greet him, the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun said as he walked towards the door. Hearing this, the others also lit up and stood up, heading towards the door. Everyone positioned themselves at the entrance of Aotian Hall. Some younger cultivators from the Holy Lands of Heavenly Dragon, Thunder Sound, Tei, and other major Immortal sect Holy Lands, who had never seen Lu Yi, were all visibly excited. Chapter 691, 325, Seeing Nuke Again 2. Chapter 691-325, Seeing Nuke Again /2. After all, Lu Yi was too legendary, being the idol of all the young generation in Tiananmen, and now that they could finally see their idol in person, they were naturally extremely excited. Soon, Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu descended from the sky, landing in front of the group. The heavenly dragon Saint Sun greeted them with a smile on his face. "Brother Lu, Brother Yu, it's been a long time." Lu Yi smiled, glanced at the heavenly dragon Saint Sun, felt the stable immortal spirit Qi within him, patted his shoulder and praised. "Not bad, you're the first among our peers to ascend, keep it up." "Ha ha ha, Brother Lu, you flatter me, though I have ascended, I am still as insignificant as a firefly compared to you," the heavenly dragon Saint Sun said, his face flushing with joy and his smile beaming. Tei Saint Sun, Thunder Sound Saintess, Feng Bumming, and other geniuses who were also on good terms with Lu Yi fell silent. They looked at the spirited heavenly dragon Saint Sun with envy, gritting their teeth. Damn, this dumb dragon showing off again. In their view, Lu Yi's praise of the heavenly dragon Saint Sun was even more upsetting than hearing about the heavenly dragon Saint Sun's ascension. Even so, not only the heavenly dragon Saint Sun, but also other young geniuses from the heavenly dragon Holy Land were glowing with pride at that moment. The very esteemed Lu Yi praising their Saint Sun filled them with honor as well. "Our Saint Sun really is a genius. Brother Lu, let's go inside and talk. Having you stand at the entrance is really my fault," the heavenly dragon Saint Sun said with a smile as he invited Lu Yi inside. Lu Yi nodded, his gaze sweeping over the cultivators present. He noticed that, although they were all young, their cultivation bases were not low, most were at least in the unification realm. Aside from the familiar trio including Jiang Fan, there were also Nangong Moyu and other senior brothers and sisters from the White Cloud Immortal sect, as well as its younger generation of geniuses. Lu Yi recognized a few, but there were also several he did not know. Moreover, there were many geniuses from other Immortal sect Holy Lands present, totaling over 100 people. These, of course, were not all the geniuses of every Immortal sect Holy Land in Tiananmen, just those invited by the heavenly dragon Saint Sun from those with good relations with the heavenly dragon Holy Land. However, Lu Yi soon noticed a different cultivator. It was a member of the Three-Eyed Clan, and moreover, his cultivation had reached the true immortal realm, boasting quite strong abilities. Lu Yi was somewhat surprised and took another look at this Three-Eyed Clan member, then realized he looked somewhat familiar. As an immortal, Lu Yi had an excellent memory. Even a fleeting glimpse would not fade even after tens of thousands of years. He thought for a moment and recalled, wasn't this the Three-Eyed Clan cultivator who had been attracted by the Taoist aura of his newly raised defense array? Lu Yi remembered, he seemed to be an heir from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce. Apparently, he was a formidable genius throughout the entire Three-Eyed Star region. Lu Yi was taken aback, not expecting this person to also be here. The heavenly dragon Saint Sun had been paying attention to Lu Yi, and seeing that Lu Yi noticed Nuke, he quickly introduced with a smile, "Brother Lu, this gentleman is Nuke. Before my ascension, I traveled around Tiananmen and by chance got to know this gentleman. Honestly, my ascension owes much to Brother Nuke, as he has been discussing the Tao with me during this period, benefiting me greatly." The heavenly dragon Saint Sun then introduced Nuke. "Brother Nuke, this is my brother Lu, the pride of our entire Tiananmen and the person whom I admire the most." Lu Yi looked at Nuke, a smile not quite forming on his face. "No need for introductions, I know him." Hearing this, the heavenly dragon Saint Sun was startled, looking bewilderedly at Lu Yi and then at Nuke. "Brother Lu, you know Brother Nuke." Nuke stood up, bowed to Lu Yi respectfully, his attitude very humble. "I've met Mr. Lu. Last time we met, we did not talk much, but after coming to Tiananmen and learning about your deeds, I regretted it immensely." Lu Yi raised his eyebrow looking at Nuke. "So, you approached me through Brother Ao Tian." Hearing this, the atmosphere turned cold instantly. The heavenly dragon Saint Sun's eyes widened, his face paled, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was utterly astonished as he looked at Nuke, his face filled with disbelief. This peer who had been discussing the Tao with him was actually trying to approach Brother Lu through him. "Brother Lu, the heavenly dragon Saint Sun tried to explain. Lu Yi waved his hand with a smile. "It's fine, he is a true immortal, probably interested in you because of my connection with you. Even without you, he would have approached someone else." In fact, when Lu Yi saw Nuke, he guessed that Nuke was probably approaching him through the heavenly dragon Saint Sun. As for the purpose of getting close, Lu Yi didn't believe this genius from the Three-Eyed Clan would lose his sanity and mean him harm. Not to mention, if he had stayed in Tiananmen all along without leaving since then, he would have known about his strength and identity. With just the identity of the Yu family, this genius from the three-eyed clan probably wouldn't dare harbor any other intentions. So it was most likely to curry favor. Upon hearing this, the heavenly dragon Saint's son felt touched but also quite guilty, lowering his head in silence. Yu Yuanwu, standing nearby, looked at Nuke and couldn't help but laugh. Heh, just a member of the three-eyed clan, trying so hard to get close to my brother-in-law for what? Nuke felt a chill in his heart under Yu Yuanwu's gaze, well aware that this man was a direct genius of the Yu family. Just this man alone was enough for him to avoid provoking. Not to mention, there was an even more impressive Lu Yu present. Nuke quickly explained, Mr. Lu, young Master Yu, Brother Ao Tian and I truly hit it off at first sight, and it was out of admiration for Mr. Lu that I wanted to meet Mr. Lu. Having said that, he smiled carelessly, not to sound unpleasant. Although my three-eyed clan is quite all right in the three-eyed star region, we are but ants in the eyes of the Yu family. How could I dare to entertain any thoughts about Mr. Lu and young Master Yu? I merely wish to follow Mr. Lu like Brother Ao Tian. Hearing this, Lu Yu raised an eyebrow. He had originally thought Nuke's meeting with him was merely to curry favor. Surprisingly, Nuke actually wanted to follow him. He knew currying favor and following were entirely different concepts. Hearing this, Yu Yuanwu's expression eased a bit, and after sizing up Nuke, he chuckled lightly. Didn't expect there to be a cultivator with such insight in the three-eyed star. Following my brother-in-law would be a great fortune for you. The heavenly dragon Saint's son, and others nearby also relaxed a bit upon hearing Nuke's words. After all, this true, immortal realm cultivator had come wanting to follow Lu Yi. That certainly wasn't a bad thing. Nuke smiled slightly, looking at Lu Yi. Mr. Lu is extraordinarily talented. I deeply admire you, and it would indeed be my honor to follow Mr. Lu. Lu Yi thought for a moment and chuckled lightly. The matter of following can be discussed later. Since you are a friend of Brother Ao Tian, there is no problem staying here. Upon hearing this, Nuke's eyes lit up, revealing a smile, exactly as Mr. Lu says. Lu Yi not outright rejecting him, and allowing him to stay signaled an opportunity. Naturally, Nuke was excited. The atmosphere relaxed, and everyone gathered again, clinking glasses and the sound of conversation rose once more. Soon the atmosphere was lively again. The heavenly dragon Saint's son, feeling quite guilty, frequently raised his glass to apologize to Lu Yi for not noticing Nuke's ulterior motives. Lu Yi, however, didn't blame the heavenly dragon Saint's son, for the gap between a tribulation-crossing practitioner and a true immortal was too vast, and the heavenly dragon Saint's son couldn't possibly have noticed anything. Moreover, the heavenly dragon Saint's son didn't know Nuke personally, making it even less likely for him to suspect anything. Later, the ascension ceremony proceeded as scheduled. The party left the Ao Tian Hall and arrived at the central square of Heavenly Dragon City. The square was immensely vast, spanning several dozen kilometers, with tables of feasts laid out and the aroma of immortal delicacies filling the air. Long Yuan flew over, greeted Lu Yi with a bow and a smile. Taoist Lu, you arrived without notifying us. With an esteemed guest like you, I should have personally received you. Lu Yi smiled lightly. No need for such formalities, Taoist Long. I came as friend of Brother Ao Tian, and there are certainly many guests you need to attend to. Ha, regardless, you and fellow Taoist you must sit at the main table. Otherwise I won't feel easy, Long Yuan insisted. Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu exchanged glances and ultimately did not refuse. Together with Long Yuan, they approached the main table. Chapter 692, 326, Gifting a Star, Completion of the Stargate. Chapter 692-326, Gifting a Star, Completion of the Stargate. At the main table, more than 10 cultivators were seated, all of them being of the true immortal level or above, powerful beings who had ascended before Tiananmen. Among them were Wang Jianyuan and the Sword Taoist. Seeing Long Yuan bringing Lu Yi over, the group stood up. Taoist Lu, long time no see. Mr. Lu, I didn't expect you to come as well. The cultivators greeted him with smiles. Lu Yi nodded at a few of them and sat down with Yu Yuanwu. The atmosphere of the ascension ceremony was warm. There were immortals from the heavenly dragon Holy Land and from other immortal sect Holy Lands dancing, and people mingled, discussing collaborations between the Holy Lands and various resource allocations. Lu Yi merely watched with a smile, not participating. To him, the little resources that the leaders of these immortal sect holy lands were fighting over were too insignificant. Yu Yuanwu next to him wasn't interested either. After all, he had the Yu family behind him, and his vision was much broader. The ceremony lasted for a full 2 days. After 2 days, everyone was satisfied, and the hosts and guests departed happily. Just as Lu Yi and Jiang Fan were about to leave, Nuke hurried up. "Young Master Lu, please wait a moment." Lu Yi stopped and looked at Nuke, chuckling lightly. "Brother Nuke, what's the matter?" Nuke, slightly embarrassed, smiled. "Young Master Lu, it seems that Tiananmen's outskirts are constructing a stargate. At this rate, it might be completely constructed in less than 300 years. Lu Yi nodded slightly. "Indeed, that is so." Nuke smiled slightly. "Have you considered, young Master Lu, once the Stargate is in place, the exchanges between Tiananmen Star and other regions will become much more frequent?" Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. "What are you implying, Brother Nuke?" Nuke earnestly said, "Since I plan to follow young Master Lu, I naturally hope to be of assistance. I see young Master Lu lectures the beings of Tiananmen every few decades. Your affection for Tiananmen must be deep. I am one of the successors of the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce, and we specialize in developing commercial planets. If there were commercial planets around Tiananmen Star, it would surely benefit the beings of Tiananmen." Hearing this, Lu Yi thought for a moment and realized that Nuke's point was solid. This logic was similar to the development in ancient China. Once a commercial district was established, the surrounding residents would benefit, more or less. This was applicable in this world too. If there were bustling commercial planets around Tiananmen Star, then for the cultivators of Tiananmen, it would mean more opportunities and access to precious resources. After all, although Lu Yi could obtain many rewards and resources by completing tasks, he couldn't possibly distribute these resources to every single being of Tiananmen. If there were such an opportunity, they might be able to gain more resources. However, Lu Yi thought for a moment and then asked, "What do you need?" Nuke immediately shook his head, laughing. "I don't need anything. I just want to help young Master Lu, that's all. The cultivators from Tiananmen can open shops on the developed commercial planet. Bolo's Chamber of Commerce will not take a single coin, be it tax or shop rent. It will all be free. All other shops will all be given to young Master Lu. You will have full control over the entire planet." Hearing this, Lu Yi was momentarily stunned, his expression somewhat odd. "You mean, your Bolo's Chamber of Commerce will spend a vast amount of resources to develop a commercial planet, and then give it to me?" This meant, essentially, developing something akin to Lu Jiazui, and then giving it to Lu Yi. Of course, there were differences, but the general concept was roughly the same. It was quite a thoughtful expenditure indeed. Nuke was really putting down a lot of capital. To know, developing a commercial planet was not an easy task. Whether it's changing the planet's environment, constructing infrastructure, or promoting it within the entire Three-Eyed Star region, all required substantial resources. Even Yu Yuanwu next to him couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, giving Nuke another look. Being a direct descendant of the Yu family, Yu Yuanwu naturally knew how much effort was required to develop a commercial planet. For the Yu family, it might not matter much, but for a power from the Three-Eyed Star region, it was still a considerable expense. Nuke was indeed quite generous, and Jiang Fan and others nearby almost popped their eyes out upon hearing this. Although they had not yet ascended and had never left Tiananmen, being cultivators from the White Cloud Immortal sect, they had heard the elders speak of the prosperity beyond Tiananmen. It was precisely because of this they could more or less understand what a commercial planet signified. Nuke was very generous. He was actually willing to give junior brother Lu an entire commercial planet. Lu Yi hesitated for a moment, then chuckled lightly. "Since that's the case, you just handle it yourself as you see fit." Nuke's eyes lit up, revealing a thrilled smile. Lu Yi had accepted his kindness, which meant he had accepted him. Nuke immediately said, "You can rest assured, young Master Lu, I'll definitely make you satisfied. However, it might take some time. My current position in the succession order is not high enough yet. To accomplish this, I need to be the first in line for succession." Nuke mentioned this somewhat awkwardly. He then added, "But it shouldn't take long. These days, I've made tremendous progress listening to young Master Lu's lectures on Tiananmen Star. It won't be long before I break through to the profound immortal realm, and by then, the Stargate will have just been completed not long ago. There will definitely be enough time." Chapter 693-326, Gifting a Star, Completion of the Stargate 2. Chapter 693-326, Gifting a Star, Completion of the Stargate /2. Lu Yi had a sudden realization in his heart, wondering why this guy was so eager to follow him. It turned out that it was because he had benefited from listening to his teachings lately. He chuckled and said, "As long as that's the case, you handle it, but I don't like too many people disturbing me. Do you understand?" Nuke nodded, laughing. "Of course I understand, rest assured, young Master Lu." Thereafter, Nuke bid Lu Yi farewell and left. After Nuke had left, Jiang Fan and the others nearby were still a bit slow to react. Nangong Moyu stared dumbfounded, somewhat flabbergasted. "Junior brother Lu, this is also too incredible, right? You did nothing, and someone just gave you a commercial planet." Jiang Fan and others nodded in agreement. Their worldview had been opened up. After all, they had never heard before of anyone giving a gift as big as a planet directly. Yu Yuanwu, however, remained calm and said, "That Nuke is quite smart. If brother-in-law were to reveal his identity, who in the Three-Eyed Star region wouldn't be willing to offer a commercial planet? Brother-in-law's favor is worth far more than that thing." Lu Yi smiled and said, "But Nuke is not wrong either. If the Stargate opens, having a commercial planet is indeed a good thing for Tiananmen cultivators." The group continued chatting while moving on. Before long, they returned to the White Cloud Immortal sect. Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu returned to Ling Luo Peak, while the others went back to their own cultivation. Time passed, and in the blink of an eye, another 300 years had gone by. Lu Yi's cultivation base had been steadily increasing, and after absorbing the Chaos Divine Crystal, his cultivation speed had accelerated even further. Just 5 years ago, his cultivation base had successfully broken through to the 9th layer of True Immortal. He was only a step away from the peak of True Immortal. One day, while Lu Yi was cultivating, suddenly the voice of the Ling Luo Peak Master came from outside. "You rascal, come out." Lu Yi slowly opened his eyes, a thread of chaos energy swirling in his gaze. He left the cave mansion and appeared outside, where the Ling Luo Peak Master was standing outside the cave in a white robe, arms crossed over her chest. "Master, what's the matter?" Ling Luo Peak Master chuckled lightly. "The Stargate is built. Master Yu Ming has asked me to invite you over to take a look. You understand the space law best, to see if the spatial channel of this Stargate is stable or not." Hearing this, Lu Yi's eyes lit up. "So soon? Let's go then." Lu Yi and Ling Luo Peak Master transformed into streaks of light and left the White Cloud Immortal sect, speeding through the Tiananmen star and entering the vacuum of space. Afterwards, Lu Yi caught sight of the massive black ring. Above the ring, a great amount of mysterious array patterns flickered and pulsed. The space around the entire ring was distorted, curving inward. Since the entire ring had not yet been activated, the Stargate was not officially operational at the moment. Even so, Lu Yi could still see outside the Stargate, where the space lines differed completely from other areas. At the edge of the Stargate, a group of cultivators hovered in the air, gazing at this Stargate. When they noticed Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master approaching, they turned their heads to look over. "Greetings to young Master Lu, greetings to Second Miss," they said respectfully. Ling Luo Peak Master nodded and examined the Stargate before looking over to Lu Yi. "What do you think?" Lu Yi nodded. "The space well looks very stable, but we will need to see after it is activated. Master Yu Ming, is it ready to be operated?" Yu Ming, who was the leader of this group of artifact refiners and array masters, nodded. "Of course, it's ready to be activated at any time." "Then let's activate it." The crowd nodded, and then Yu Ming pinched the array formation. Spiritual energy surged around his body, and the other cultivators also pinched their array formations. Being a large cultivation treasure, activating the Stargate was beyond the capability of a single peak of profound immortal cultivator. A large number of cultivators were needed to completely activate the Stargate. Soon, the array patterns on the Stargate began to flash continuously, and after a short while, a deep blue luminescence emerged within the entire ring. In Lu Yi's vision, the space lines completely receded towards the inside of the Stargate, forming a stable channel. It was unknown where the end of the channel led. Regardless of where it led, there must be another Stargate opposite to it, but importantly, this spatial channel was very stable, indicating there was no issue with the Stargate. According to the military leader's orders, the region connected by this Stargate is the station of the 6th Legion, I expect the military leader and his men will arrive soon." As expected, not long after Yu Ming finished speaking, a heavenly boat from the 6th Legion passed through the Star Gate and stopped in front of them. Afterward, Yu Tianfeng flew out of the heavenly boat, his face filled with a smile. "It seems the construction of the Star Gate is going smoothly." Yu Ming laughed. "This is all thanks to young Master Lu. The spatial nodes that young Master Lu previously opened are more stable than any we had discovered before. Based on these, the Star Gates we've constructed can form very stable channels." Uncle Tianfeng, Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master both greeted with smiles. Yu Tianfeng nodded. "With this Stargate, even if someone dares to attack you, our 6th Legion can quickly come over. It's enough to deter the troublemakers." Lu Yi felt somewhat touched, for Yu Tianfeng had indeed done quite a lot for his safety. "Thank you for your concern, Uncle Tianfeng. You and Ling Luo are both part of the Yu family. It's all part of our duties." Yu Tianfeng waved his hand. Then he thought of something and laughed. "Right, it's rare for me to come over here. When is your next lecture? If it's soon, I'll stay and listen." Hearing this, Lu Yi immediately laughed. "I was actually planning to give a lecture. The timing of Uncle Tianfeng's visit could not be better." Of course, it had only been a little over a decade since Lu Yi's last lecture. But with Yu Tianfeng being so considerate, he felt obliged to return the favor. For him, giving a lecture was no loss at all. On the contrary, he always gained something from each lecturing task. He had previously just not wanted to waste time unnecessarily. "Ha, coming at the right time is better than arriving early." Yu Tianfeng was very happy. Afterward, the group returned to Tiananmen. Lu Yi began giving another lecture. Though for Lu Yi, it had just been over a decade since his last lecture, everyone was naturally very excited. After all, with lectures being held in such quick succession, their gains were naturally greater too. Lu Yi's lecture lasted a whole day, lasting longer than usual, and when he returned to Ling Luo Peak afterward, Yu Tianfeng was in seclusion at Yu Yuanwu's residence, having kicked Yu Yuanwu out, who was still looking baffled and on the brink of tears. Seeing this, the corner of Lu Yi's mouth twitched, but he said nothing more. However, just then, Lu Yi suddenly felt a strong fluctuation pass by. The next moment, a somewhat familiar aura soared into the vacuum. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow, recalled for a moment, and quickly recognized the owner of the aura. It was Nuke. This fluctuation, had Nuke made a breakthrough? Lu Yi remembered what Nuke had said during the last ascension ceremony. It was about time for his breakthrough. The timing of these 2 consecutive lectures just happened to coincide with his achievement. The Ling Luo Peak Master and Yu Yuanwu also noticed the fluctuation of the aura. The Ling Luo Peak Master raised an eyebrow. "Is someone making a breakthrough? Who is this person?" The Ling Luo Peak Master didn't attend the last ascension ceremony, so naturally, she didn't recognize Nuke. Yu Yuanwu, however, showed a look of realization he knew. He grinned and said, "It's one of brother-in-law's followers, that kid from the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land during the last ascension ceremony. He insisted on following brother-in-law." By now, the Ling Luo Peak Master had become immune to Yu Yuanwu constantly referring to brother-in-law, and acted as if she hadn't heard it. She looked at Lu Yi in slight astonishment. "Your follower is already a profound immortal." She herself was only at the level of a profound immortal. This young man, has he really become so outrageous without us realizing? Lu Yi smiled modestly. "I didn't expect that he would so eagerly ask to become my follower." The Ling Luo Peak Master. Her mouth twitched, and she chose to remain silent. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. "Rarely do we see someone ascend. Would you like to go and see?" The Ling Luo Peak Master shook her head. "I also have some insights. I will go into seclusion first." Yu Yuanwu looked at his own residence, tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Brother-in-law, I'll go with you." He would have liked to go into seclusion, but his residence had been taken over by Uncle Tianfeng. So much for seclusion.